your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look at my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome into a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you. The fan line is open. The hotline, 330-886-0813. That's 330-886-0813. Coming up in about 14 minutes, Munch Bishop will be joining me, and we will most definitely talk about what made news over the 4th of July weekend. First and foremost, hopefully everyone had a happy and safe 4th of July. The big news coming out of Cleveland, there is talk that the Indians will be changing their name. I kind of expected something of this nature to happen once the people got their way in terms of getting rid of Chief Wahoo, which I don't have a problem with. Chief Wahoo was a borderline racist caricature of, it wasn't an American Indian. It wasn't a Native American. So now the term Indians, they want, they being who the hell knows, they being the protesters, want to get rid of the term Indians. Now, I'll give the Indians organization credit. They're not just going to do this on a whim. They are going to talk with plenty of people from the Native American tribes, and they are going to talk with plenty of people that are fans of the team and whatnot. To which I say, look, if you're going to get rid of the name Indians, I always like looking on the bright side of stuff. If you're going to get rid of the name Indians, you have an opportunity to strike marketing gold. Now, you could do that, or you can essentially just sit back and take the easy way out, which I don't have a problem with either. By the way, Michael Jordan on my right shoulder is disturbing, to say the least. I think I could take him. Or at least that cardboard cutout, I could take him. Not him, the player. He'd blow right past me. Anyway, the easy way out and the most logical nickname is the name that, frankly, all of us have been using for quite some time, the tribe. It's non-offensive. It doesn't necessarily mean the group of Native Americans. No, it could be a group of anyone. You want to say the tribe? I got no problems with that. I don't call the Cleveland Indians the Indians. I'm more or less calling them the tribe, and have called them the tribe a lot more than I've called them the Indians. So if you want to go there, okay, I'm good with that. I mean, I kind of sort of understand why this is going on. I mean, I'm not completely in agreement of this, but I kind of sort of understand, because, look, here's the reality. Native Americans aren't Indians. The only people that are Indians are people that lived and were born in India. Those are Indians. Native Americans, they're not Indians. That's a name that we put on them. Now, again, do I agree with dropping the name Indians? No, I don't. And if we're going to drop the name Indians, look, I kind of understand it, but if we're going to drop the name Indians, then you'd better get in line, Redskins, Chiefs, Braves, Blackhawks, Seminoles. Locally, if we're gonna tear this down locally, if you're a fan of Southern, Girard, Brookfield, West Branch, what do you do? Southern Local Indians, Girard Indians, Brookfield Warriors, West Branch Warriors. What do you do? Crestview Rebels. Now, I'm kind of a stretch with the Rebels, but they did have some connotations back in the day. About 20 years ago, the fine folks in Crestview used to wave the rebel Confederate flag, which thankfully we're trying to get rid of as well. But when's this going to stop? Good Lord. All right, let's get to the phone lines at 330-886-0813. Rich, what's going on, brother?
Good afternoon, young man Ron. Anthony, hello.
Yeah, Anthony's not here. He's off this week. He's in Kansas City.
Oh my God, they also have innate names on their teams here too. He can't get away.
No, look, I'll be curious to talk with him when he comes back on Monday. What the vibe is with Kansas City? Are they going to replace the name Chiefs? At the very least, get rid of the tomahawk chop.
I always did find the tomahawk chop annoying.
Well, from a Indians standpoint, the '95 World Series, I got a little tired of seeing it. There's no doubt about that.
Between watching the Braves and the Seminoles, I just wanted to kick the TV in.
Yeah, I hear you on that one.
I'm going to make a statement on this. I like the idea of the tribe, but that's not going to be good enough. They're still going to have the buttheads out there that want to. Let's put it this way: history is to be observed, not eradicated. Okay, that kind of simplifies things. I remember it was probably about 10 years ago. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the rebel forces in the Middle East were destroying all of Pakistan and Afghanistan's their honorary monuments for their leaders and their religious leaders. Those had been there for up to over 4,000 years. Then these guys went in there, and these groups went in there and just destroyed everything. And we were all up in arms about that. They're taking their history away. Well, that's happening here now, but it seems to be okay. I just don't get it.
Yeah, look, I just only want to comment on a sports show, but it's disturbing what's going on. And we'll just leave it at that.
And for all the guys and gals or the people in power that own these teams and other things that are being attacked by the new whatever they are group, grow some brass you-know-what and make a stand. That's all it takes.
Well, look, I'm pleased in the fact that the Indians organization will be talking to Native Americans, and they're going to get their opinion because, let's be honest, depending on whether you believe the story, which, by the way, isn't true, that the Indians named the team after Louis Alexis, that is absolutely false. They did not name the organization after Louis Alexis. However, if the Native Americans that the Indians organization speaks to says, we're cool with the last name, we have no problems with the last name, game over. That's all I needed to hear. If they have a problem with that, then obviously let's move forward to changing the name. If they don't have a problem with this name, then I don't give a rat's ass who has the problem with the term Indians. If the Native Americans don't have a problem with that, screw the rest of the people.
Well, that's basically what's going to come down to. The people who are up in arms about this, I'm willing to bet $1 and a donut that the Native Americans are not the crux of this problem.
Well, we're going to find out because the Indians organization will be speaking to a number of Native Americans, and at the end of the day, that's how it should be handled. Now, look, I said at the beginning of the show, if the Indians' name and the Redskins' name gets taken down, then you can expect to have all kinds of problems in Atlanta, Kansas City, Chicago with the Blackhawks, Florida State with the Seminoles. Now, here's a little information that people probably don't know, but I will tell you this, and it is factual. Florida State has given Seminole Nation down in Florida boatloads of money. And everyone in Seminole Nation is cool with Florida State Seminoles because money talks. And I'm sure the city of Chicago or the Blackhawks organization has reached out and given money to the Blackhawk Native Americans from that tribe. So, again, it all depends on what Native Americans are, if they're happy with this particular name, all right, great. If they're not happy with this particular name, all right, you get rid of it. Redskins is a no-brainer. That is paramount to calling an African American the N-word. I mean that's essentially it. So, imagine if someone were to drop that name. That would go over like a fart in church.
Oh,
you wouldn't have that. I mean, it would be a nightmare. Well, it's for the life of me, I have never understood how the Washington Redskins and that organization has been able to get away with that disgusting word.
You pretty much nailed that one. It's amazing. I got a few years on you. I never thought I would see and have to deal with and observe what's happening in our lifetime in our great country at this point in history. I'm just stunned, Ron.
Well, some would say that it's about 100 years overdue, and that finally people are just had enough of the alleged words or whatever, and they just want everything to be wiped clean. Okay, great. Tell me what's not offensive, and we'll go from there. I mean, I'm looking at some of the high school names. Like I said, Southern local. If the name Indians is dropped from Cleveland, all right, do we go into Salineville? Do we go into Girard? Do we go into Brookfield? Do we go into West Branch? And we tell these people, hey, it's probably not cool to have the named your nickname named after a Native American, so you may want to change your name.
Okay, so to the offended, take note. If your sports teams get rearranged due to you being offended, and to all of the groups, there are too many to stay on the air. You've torn down statues. Now, has this improved your life? I'm waiting for the answer, and with that, I'll close.
Yeah. That would be a great thing to ask. Has it improved your life with all the stuff that's been taken down and whatnot? I mean, that's the $1 million question. Rich, thanks for the call, brother. I appreciate
all right,
it.
Ron.
Man, see you. As a Latonia fan, I might have to interview Yogi Bear and find out, Yogi, are you offensive? Are you offended by the name Bears? He's too busy stealing picnic baskets. What can I tell you? All right, Munch is going to be coming up in a little bit here. We'll get his take on what is going on in Cleveland with the change or the potential change of the name Indians. And personally, I'm going to go with Tribe. I'll just go with Tribe. There you go. All right, we'll get Munch on in a little bit. Stick around. More to come on this Monday edition of Running Point. 330-886-0813. Back in a bit.
21
Good evening,
News.
and thank you for joining us.
Let's get right to our top
More
story
experienced reporters
tonight. A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown.
telling more local stories
We'll look at
Baby
efforts
boy
to
is
curb
recovering from a broken.
around our
Good
valley.
Community in Niles,
We are
one
here in
Triangle Valley
Youngstown, right
business.
Because you expect
It's important for everyone. No place like home.
more local news.
In Mercer County
Before
Court.
they become life-threatening.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
Monday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you till 3 o'clock, taking your phone calls, 330-886-0813. Right now, joining us on the YSN hotline, my brother from another mother, Mark Munch Bishop, getting us a Cleveland take on everything that is going on what turned out to be a very interesting holiday weekend. Munch, what's going on, brother?
Nothing but a lot of heat, and again, a potential name change for the Indians. Ronnie, I found out that when they dumped Wahoo, and of course this was in talks with Major League Baseball, they were asked at that time to also dump the name Indians. And I'm going to come at you, and whether the listeners like it or not, to me the name Redskins is offensive. To me the name Redmen is offensive. However, to me the name Indians is not. Braves are not. The Chiefs are not. In fact, you know what, bro? I talked to people in Kansas City. The Kansas City Chiefs actually have a Native American board that they consult with frequently for routines from their cheerleaders, for merchandise and things like that, and they're happy to be there. I also know for a fact that Chippewas, Central Michigan, is not anything that would get you going. And I also know that doing some work again, because I didn't want to just come on and just shoot from my hip, is that the Eastern Michigan Eagles now were the Hurons, and the Huron tribe was livid when they bowed the pressure and changed the name because they said that their name lived on and they were represented with dignity. There you have it. Tito coming out yesterday made me think even a little more. Is that I really feel the reason they're doing it is to get ahead of the curve and get ahead of any potential problems. Ronnie, I stand by what I said. Is that no, I do not feel the name is offensive used properly.
Okay, there were 8 different tribes that were set up in Ohio, in the state of Ohio, before the state was recognized as part of the Union, and before the Native Americans were run out of Dodge. There were 8 different tribes. The Hurons were one of the tribes. Now, I said on the air, Indians. It's not offensive to me. It could be offensive to a Native American because they're not an Indian. They're a Native American. Indians was a word that was presented by the white man and not necessarily by the Native American. However, you're not going to sit back and say, hey, we're the Cleveland Native Americans. That's just not going to fly. However, if they talk with the Native Americans, and the Native Americans that the Indians organization speaks with and says, hey, we're fine with this name, then as far as I'm concerned, they don't need to talk to another blessed soul. Game over, Indian stays, and the rest of these people that don't like it can pound salt.
I have no problem with that. It's interesting, too, if you talk about the tribes, I would think the name Cuyahoga is an Indian name. The Cuyahoga River, an Indian name. I can go on and on with more Indians' names. Once again, I do feel the reason they're being serious about it is to, quote-unquote, get ahead of the curve. It is a new dawn. There's no doubt. It is a different day, and that came compliments. Really, the accent on that was the police officer murdering the gentleman in Minneapolis. And really, that one event triggered things more than we ever could have imagined. But, Ronnie, I do still think the name will change. It won't change this year. I'm hearing that if it changes for next year, they'll have some type of contest or something of that nature. And who knows, maybe they go into next year wearing some different uniforms from one of the past teams while they still try to find a name. There's some out there from the past that do have a little bit of cachet to them, so we'll see if one of those arise.
Well, let me ask you, because I brought up the name tribe. That's not necessarily a word that can be used by the Native Americans. It can be used anywhere. A group of people is called a tribe. Why not just...
I've had people say to me before all the time, I'm sorry, is that they much, how's your tribe? We have 4 kids, and that's just, that's what that is. It's a group of people.
And let's be honest, Munch, I mean, I don't call the Indians the Indians as much as I call them the tribe. I mean, it's Let's Go Tribe. I mean, it's, granted, the Indians organization, if they do change the name, this is a marketing position that the Indians would be in, where if they really get it right, and they could go back to the old days and do spiders, they could go LaJoie. One of the names that I think would fit, being that Cleveland has the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, why not the Cleveland Rockers?
You know what? I have no problem with them. I know some people, we've been there and done that with the WNBA team. Yes, we did. So, you know what I mean? So, okay, let's go from there. It's interesting. Just something else, on the plate now. But, Ronnie, your thoughts, too, when you could tell, listening to, the Indians, if you read the Indian statement, and again, listening to Tito, it's more or less, you know what, let's just freaking avoid the hassles and let's just get rid of it. Sometimes maybe they don't want to die on that hill, quote unquote.
Well, the spring training, and I'm using air quotes, more like summer camp, is in mid-season form. This morning, Francisco Lindor pulled a fast one on Tito. Apparently, Frankie told Tito to use hand sanitizer, and Tito grabbed what Lindor gave him, and it turns out it was firm grip that the hitters use. So his hands were like sticking together, and Lindor pulled a fast one on him in a big, big way.
Bro, could you imagine that? And what did Tito say? We almost released him.
Yeah, we almost released him over there. Yeah, that's good luck with that one. I think that he would probably get picked up the second after he's released. Of course, it's all tongue in cheek, but Munch, I keep hearing people players, I should say, are bowing out. Nick Markakis has decided to bow out. Felix Hernandez is setting aside his comeback with the Atlanta Braves organization. He is bowing out. David Price from the Los Angeles Dodgers is not going to play. Mike Trout has flat out said, look, if it gets uncomfortable, I'm not going to do it. And he and his wife have a newborn due next month, so you certainly can't blame him for that.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so I wonder, here we are, July the 6th, and the season is supposed to start in roughly 3 weeks, give or take a few days. I just wonder if 2
weeks from Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, I just wonder if we're really going to have all 60 games and this season is going to go without a hitch, because it's already starting to feel like we're not going to get to 60 games.
Roddy, take it a step further. Are we really going to see the NBA? Are we really going to see the NHL? And I don't even want to think about fall from high school up.
Well, that's the other thing. And, interestingly enough, the Ivy League, who a lot of people can sit back and say they're the first group in college basketball that said, hey, we're shutting our season down. They were the forerunners in all of this. Well, they're expected to announce either today or tomorrow that they are moving all of their fall sports to the spring of 2021. Now, I know the state of Michigan is going to do that for high school football. I'm curious if college football and high school football are going to pick up on what the Ivy League in the state of Michigan has decided to do, and we flip the calendar and move football to the spring of 2021.
Roddy, that would be strictly college. You said perhaps high school?
If it's high school, college, whatever.
Okay, here's what I'm asking. Will the other spring sports still be there? Because you know what? If that's the case, and once again, my goal here is to save lives, although I really have heard anyone in that age group who's a finely tuned athlete for the most part, gets it. It sucks, and it's a cold or a flu for a week or so, and then it goes away. Again, I don't want to trivialize that. However, if they can have spring sports there still, and then it's the spring, that sounds like a hell of a lot to do, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and I wonder for some of the smaller schools if we're going to take this to the high school level, and the OHSAA has already said there's no way we're doing this. Now, that was their stance a month ago. We'll see if it changes, especially if we continue to have the outbreaks that we've been having in the state of Ohio. But it seems to me, especially in the smaller schools, if you allow football to be put into the spring, then you're essentially killing your spring sports, because there are plenty of multi-athletes who are going to wind up wanting to play football more than any other sport because, I mean, Munch, let's face it, the state of Ohio lives, breathes, and eats football.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's no doubt. You know, it makes me wonder that other kids are going to get a shot. However, this is a reality. I was one of those other kids, too. I won a race or two running track, you know, but the bottom line is they won't be the top performers. I guarantee you'll still have all those other sports. Could be interesting, Ron. That's why I said there'd be a lot to do. Are we going to a football game tonight? Are we going to a lacrosse game? Are we going? What about soccer? Are they moving that to the spring too?
I would assume so. I mean, you'd have a jam-packed calendar in the springtime unless you want to move the spring sports to the fall. And look, I've said this on a number of occasions. In northeastern Ohio, it's probably better to play baseball in the fall because the weather is so much more conducive to play baseball in the fall. But unfortunately, if you put baseball and football together, you've basically killed one of your teams, and it wouldn't be football because there's plenty of multi-sport athletes that play both sports.
Yeah, and you know what's funny too is that you think about it, our nicest weather is in October, and you know what? We can go. You know, you might have a day or two of snow. I know somebody's going to say, "Well, it's snowed." Yeah, it has snowed in October. Okay, I understand that. But the bottom line is, you know, you could go basically up to Thanksgiving. I mean, I sat out many in a stadium for high school football postseason, which goes into the first Friday, Saturday of December. And you know what? It's pretty freaking nice out. I mean, it might be 35, 40, but hey, you know, for December, I'll take it any day of the week.
No doubt. Mark Munch Bishop joining me on the YSN hotline. Munch, if we can stay on with the Browns, our favorite player, and I use this so sarcastically because he's nothing but a dropped pass waiting to happen. David Njoku wants out of Cleveland. My only thing is, how fast can we get rid of him, and what can we get for David Njoku? Because it seems to me the market value for this guy, a former first-round draft pick, is going to be nowhere near a first-round pick.
Ronnie, number one, and I don't, no pats on the back are not the reason I don't say that. But when I see something, I tell people about it. And I say, well, number one, I don't like Njoku personally, and I'll tell you that. I can't root for a guy like that on my team. Number two, he's been nothing, as you said, not just a drop pass waiting to happen. He refuses to block. He also is just a dancing fool, as I call him, who loves to celebrate a 2-yard catch on 3rd and 14 and dance around like, you know, I don't know what the heck he is. Yeah, you know what? This is his moment of fame. He's in the news. He's a piece of human trash, and just get rid of him, like you said. Rosenhaus, I shot him a text the other day saying, what are you doing with people like this? You know what I mean? Tarnishes your name, too. But this, you think about this, too. The gall and nerve of him to come out and demand a trade. No, you know what, man? You're lucky you weren't cut. Dorsey would have cut you. But, Ronnie, I want to hit you with this. Now, I'm not a conspiracy guy. And it's the one problem I'm still having with the Browns, even though our general manager looks like he's saying the right things these days. But 2 of the 3 men who traded to get Njoku into the first round are still making decisions on his team. That's Barry and DePodesta. Does that scare you at all?
A little bit. I got to be honest. DePodesta is more of a baseball guy than he is a football guy. But, you know, I mean, he's a sabermetrics analyst, whatever you want to call it in football.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, we've talked about this. You can't have your football organization run exclusively on analytics. You have to have a little bit of both. And personally, I think it should be 80-20 the scouts that know what they're looking for, they can see with their own eyes, and then use some analytics along the way, because analytics is great. The numbers are fantastic, and you can do a lot of things with numbers, but as we've said many, many times, analytics does not tell the whole story. It does not tell how much a player wants it. It does not tell the heart. It does not tell the mind. It just tells numbers. So you can't use that exclusively. You got to have a little bit of human element along with that. And personally, again, more human element than numbers for me.
Brother, I'm going to tell you this, and you're going to love this. Sam Martigliano, shortly after Sashi, the number of guys came in the first time, he goes, Munch, I'll give you my analytics. He pointed to his forehead, he pointed to his eyes, and he pointed to his heart. He goes, those are the analytics you need. Hey, Ronnie, I got to get this out because Francisco Lindler just came out about a minute ago saying about a team change. If it's going to bring more love, peace, and happiness to society, then we do it. Society is shifting, and we're due for some change. That's now for Frankie. So, you know what, Frankie? If that's cool with you, why don't you stick around, bud?
Well, that's the other thing, and I know a lot of people want to sit back and say, wow, this is probably the last year of Lindor, and we're not even going to see him for a whole season. If we're lucky, we're only going to see him for 60 games. Look, I like to look things glass half full. Here's the glass half full aspect of this. If there's not a full baseball season, even if we don't finish 2020, Munch, you and I both know the numbers financially are not going to be there for the free agents. They just simply are not going to get paid an awful lot of money based upon the fact that these owners are going to be losing a ton of money depending on how many games we play. And even if you get all 60 games in, you're still going to be losing a ton of money because there's no attendance in the ballparks. So this could possibly work in Cleveland's advantage if they determine, hey, you know what? Let's sign Lindor to a 3-year deal and let's go $20+ million a year and see if he'll bite on that.
20+. You got to give him 35.
Well, I mean, in today's market, there's no way in hell he gets 35.
Well, somebody's going to give him 35. Somebody's going to give him the 10-year 350 or 10-year 400.
I mean, if we had a normal regular season, I'd say, yeah, absolutely. But given the fact that we don't have a normal regular season, and it may take a few years before the owners actually recoup all the money that they're allegedly going to be losing, I don't see anybody getting 350 or 400 million.
Ronnie, we're going to find out because you know what? The players and the owners are going to go at it like we have never seen. Something interesting too, and I don't like. Baseball makes sure they air their dirty laundry, so you can make sure to try to get the players want you on your side, the owners want you on their side. Now, what you're saying is reality, but you know what, man? All it takes is one. All it takes is that one owner and saying, you know what, I could do this. Let's do this, the kind of thing. It doesn't make sense either. Just like so many, the commissioner, the stuff he has, that doesn't make sense either. The economics of the game doesn't make sense either.
Well, it bothers me and will continue to bother me for a long time that Rob Manfred sat back and said at the end of all of this, we were never budging from 60 games. Well, if that's the case, then why the hell didn't we start the season on the 4th of July like we should have started on the 4th of July? It would have been the greatest shot in the arm for baseball, and I think it would have just been the perfect scenario in an imperfect season. But Rob Manfred, frankly, Munch, I don't think the guy knows what the hell he's doing. He's in way over his head. And I am very concerned about the game of baseball from the major league level. I'm very concerned that this is brewing as a catastrophe. And after the 2021 season, we're probably going to have a work stoppage, and it might be a very, very long work stoppage. And if you combine those two things together, I don't know if this sport survives.
Ronnie, think about this. There's trouble in the country right now, and I'll say, take everything else out of it. Even just with the COVID-19, until there's a vaccine, things are not going to be normal. So 4th of July is our holiday, an American holiday, and I'm damn glad to be able to celebrate it. And you just summed up, America loves baseball's our game. These guys were not even considered enough, and Manfred is one of the main reasons, and the players and Tony Clark and the owners, not even considered enough to say, you know what, let's give all these millions of people out of work, let's give all these businesses that now are on their shoestring because they almost shut down, let's give them something to smile, give them some light at the end of the tunnel. There's not a freaking freight train coming on the tracks towards us. Let's play baseball and start the season on the 4th of July. It's a 60-gamer. If you play 20 a month and you get a few more blows in between for tests or something like that. But again, they didn't give a you-know-what to even try and do this to get that done. And that goes from Manfred, the players, and the owners. And that sickens me, and I'm glad you brought it up.
Munch, before I let you go, a couple of things with the Browns, and obviously who knows what's going to happen. The PGA event that was scheduled to have fans in Dublin, just outside of Columbus, at the house Jack Nicklaus built. They're now reneging on that and saying fans are not welcome. They're going to go back to fanless golf. So with Franklin County as one of the many counties in Ohio that is close to being in a really bad way, it kind of, I'm wondering, as we get closer to the start of the National Football League season, are the Browns or is the NFL going to essentially say, hey, look, if anyone wants to attend these games, you're going to have to sign a piece of paper and clear us of any wrongdoing so you can't sue us if you get COVID?
Brother, you're preaching to the choir on all this. Preaching to the choir. It's a shame, isn't it? It's a dang shame.
Yeah, it really is. And one more thing with the Cavaliers, and you know, here's an interesting thought. And look, the Cavaliers, one of 8 teams that was not invited to Orlando. Who knows if the NBA has their season? I mean, it looks to be on shaky ground, but I think the Cavs are going to have a bit of a disposition about that. And given the fact that under Bickerstaff, this team was 5-6 before
You're right.
I was going to say, this team was 5-6. They knocked off Philadelphia. They knocked off San Antonio. They knocked off 3 other teams.
Miami?
Yeah, Miami, absolutely. It seems to me that this team is on its way up. And with Drummond announcing that he's going to come back along with Love and Nance, and you've got a really youthful backcourt with Sexton, Garland, and Porter Jr. and depending on where the Cavaliers draft, they could get another pretty solid contributor. I'm very bullish on this team, provided JD and the coaching staff continues to get in front of the curve in terms of getting these guys back in the gym and ready to go, so they're not taking 8 months off like we're supposed to be seeing.
Brother, so important. I'm glad, again, you're hitting it all on the head today, is that I want to see this team play more with Drummond, with Love, with Nance at the other forward spot. And you know what, man? This team, and we don't know who they're going to add in the draft, but this team right now healthy, and they're even talking about trying to keep Tristan Thompson around. This team is a playoff team, but it's not a cleaner playoff team. If you have all those parts and pieces, Sexton's becoming a monster. Garland last year was over his head, plus he was still hurt. Porter Jr. right now is knocking on stardom in this league as is Larry Nance Jr. Brother, this team's a 5 or 6 seed next year at the worst if they stay intact, if they keep doing what they're doing. But as you said, I want them to play because they need to play together.
Ante Zizic, do the Cavaliers let him walk, or do they sign him to a manageable contract? Because I still think the kid has potential.
You know what? He does, and I know that you're behind. You're the one that got me turned on to him. And here's the thing. He's getting offered more money than the Cavs could ever pay him to play in Europe. I think the Spanish team, looking at him, because the Spanish leagues are pretty damn good, they say a guy coming out of the Spanish leagues is the first you should look for now for NBA talent, and they're offering him just gobs and gobs of money. That might be the thing that might not be. I mean, this is the thing that you're going to be competing with.
Hey, Munch, we end this on a sad note. The passing moments ago of a legend in the music industry. Charlie Daniels has passed away.
Oh, you know what? Bro, I'm glad I heard it from you. I'm going to tell you, I just, here I go, Mr. Emotional. I just heard Devil went down to Georgia last night running some errands, an all-time classic line. Speaking of the devil, you son of a bitch, I'm the best you've ever had. There's ever been.
I like the Uneasy Rider too. The song Uneasy Rider. Yeah.
That's an American treasure.
That's a great tune, and watch him, boys, because he's a fairly dangerous man. You may not know it, but this man's a spy. He's an undercover agent for the FBI.
Well, you just made me smile after making me cry with that news.
Oh, Lordy. All right, Munchie. Always a pleasure, sir.
Always great listening to you, too, brother. Thank you.
All right, man. See you. Munch Bishop joining us on the YSN hotline. Again, the passing of an absolute legend, not just in country music, but he also made the transition to, and actually it was earlier in his days where he was more of a folk/rock performer. And then he started jumping into country music full bore. The Devil Went Down to Georgia, obviously the biggest hit for Charlie Daniels, but Uneasy Rider, one of my favorite tunes. YouTube that, because it's a pretty hilarious take on a young man, a northerner, driving down into Dixie and getting some car troubles, and it's a hilarious song. It is a hilarious song. All right, 330-886-0813, the number to call. We'll take some phone calls in a bit. It is a Monday edition of Running Point. Dana Balish will be coming up at the top of the hour. That is coming up momentarily. More than enough time, though, to take your phone calls at 330-886-0813. Back in a bit.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com. Storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Day in the showers, I'm keeping my eye on in parts of Columbiana County.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
It's a Monday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you. Again, news breaking of the passing of Charlie Daniels, the country slash rock musician. He started his career as a rock musician, folk slash rock. He started playing some country music. Just a good old boy. 83 years of age, Charlie Daniels passing away today. All right, let's get to the phone lines. Champ, you're on the YSN hotline. What's going on, my brother?
No, not so much. I wanted to continue talking about the Indians and the changing of the name. And I totally agree with you. You're right on top of this. But we got to remember that back when the Indians, after they were called the Cleveland Naps, after a lot of teams were named after the best players, they were trying to get a nickname together. And you're right, even though Louis Sox-Alexis, I think actually attended Notre Dame, the University of Notre Dame, when he was young, was not they didn't do it to honor the Indians per se, but it was a way to some of the old sports writers. It was a way to be able to describe the Indians through using a lot of terms like the Indians are on the warpath, or they're because there was a lot of negative stereotypes associated with the Native Americans, or the Indians as they called them. And then this logo came around in 1947, and this is where it really got bad, because especially the red-faced Indian with the big smile and the feather, and it just was, and like the Redskins, it's unbelievable they're still around, that nickname. But that was problematic. And they did a survey in 2016 with the Redskins where they supposedly polled all these Native Americans, and the polling that they did was it wasn't exactly the right polling to do, because a lot of the people that they polled, interviewed, a lot of them didn't even know what tribe they were associated with, because as like Elizabeth Warren, a lot of people admit that they've got a little Native American in them. So they really truly didn't interview or poll the correct people, or I would call the ones that are still pretty much associated with their history. And they drew it again later on, and they found out there was like 67% of the true Native Americans that really didn't like the name Redskins. It was just a horrible thing for them. And it's not, Ron, when you take a group of people, an ethnic or a nationality, and you name the team that, you got to have a mascot or a nickname, and I pray that. Now, the only one I can think of is the Fighting Irish. I can't think of another one where they have a nationality or an ethnic portrayed, and there's a lot of criticism about that, but if you look through the history of that, they were talking about how the team used to battle back this one game at halftime. They were way down, and they fought back, and they thought they called them the Fighting Irish. But that doesn't even compare what we're talking about with the logo, with the red-faced Indian, and some of the stereotypes that go along with that. But the Indians weren't exactly an ethnic group that was really respected during the early 1900s and the late 1800s. They weren't simply. They still really aren't. But I think that's the issue. I have no problem with Indians, and as you say, tribe. But the logo created a lot of this problem, and that's gone right now. But it might be something they still need to change. But they do have to get together with the true Native Americans and sit down and have an honest conversation about whether that this is disturbing to them. And if it's not, I'm fine with keeping it. But if it is, then they got to get rid of it. It's simple as that. I don't know why we're doing all this debating. And unless you're a Native American, a true person that still has heritage with the tribe, whatever they're from, I don't want to hear from you, because you have no voice in this matter as far as I'm concerned.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And again, let's start talking to the Native Americans and get their opinion on this. And if they believe, hey, look, we have no problems with the word Indians, then as far as I'm concerned, the rest of the people that are causing this can go pound salt and will continue to be named the Cleveland Indians. Now, again, if they have a problem with that, okay, fine. I still contend you can say Cleveland Tribe. End of story. You're not offending anyone. And if people want to sit back and go, well, that's too close to being a Native American, no, pound salt. No, it's not. You can use that term in any form. The my tribe would be my family. My tribe would also be my paisans. I could throw two different words that mean the same thing. It's not exclusively to the Native American tongue. You can use the word tribe. So if the Indians want to say, hey, we're dropping the name Indians and we're just going to be called the Cleveland Tribe, no problems. And nobody should have a problem with that.
Now, the hockey team, the Blue Jackets, that's named after is that a heritage thing for them too, the Blue Jackets?
I have no idea.
I thought they were I thought they were part of I don't know. I thought I read that somewhere. But anyways, there's been many colleges that have changed their names. I mean, the other day I actually couldn't even remember the name of the Miami University in Ohio, what they used to be called. I know that the Redhawks now, and Eastern Michigan is another example. I couldn't remember what they used to be called. So, but I think they need to do this and get it done. Do the surveys, whatever you have to do, but do it with the right people. And let's move on from this because it's still all about the team itself, the baseball team itself. And unless we have pirates running around here in America that actually are holding jobs that when they say they're pirates, I don't think you have to worry about that one either.
No, probably not. Well, although, Raiders, Pirates, Buccaneers, I mean, they were all rapists back in the day. So,
right.
I mean, do we get rid of those names? And, I'm gonna throw this name out, not because I have a strong dislike for the organization, but I'm gonna throw out the word Yankee. And I will say this as a former Southern resident, and I lived in the South for 7 years. I was called Yankee a number of times over the 7 years in which I lived in Jackson, Tennessee. So that's kind of offensive for a Northerner to be called a Yankee. So there's some. I'm not too hip with the term Yankees. I mean, no. Is it enough for me to sit back and say I want that name gone? No. But, I mean, look, if you're going to be offended by some stuff, I might as well throw out and using sarcasm, but I'm going to throw out the fact that Southern people called me a Yankee when I lived in Jackson, Tennessee. So I'm offended. So, New York, get rid of your Yankees and come up with another name.
Well, my favorite story is Ernie Harwell, which early in his career, he was actually traded for a baseball catcher when Red Barber had an ulcer and they needed an announcer, and the team that Ernie Harwell was announcing for was called the Atlanta Crackers.
Yeah,
that was the name of the team. Yeah. Ernie Harwell. I remember that story. But it's just one thing. My point being is you can't name a team after an ethnic or nationality and then try to get a mascot or a logo that doesn't. You can't do that. That doesn't, a caricature of that nationality. You just can't do that, and it doesn't happen. The only thing I can think of is the Indians and the Braves, the Chiefs, and the Irish, maybe. But other than that, you can't think of too many that are named after that because you got to have mascots. We went through we were talking about a couple weeks ago, all the weird mascots that some of these college football teams have. But it is what it is. But I don't think. I think it depends, and maybe they find a way to, like you said, with Florida, honor these individuals or give them money or help them out. It's just like someone was talking about Christopher Columbus the other day, and he made a comment. He says, "How do you discover a country where there's already people there?" And I thought that was kind of humorous. Because,
that's true.
Yeah, because there were Native Americans already here in this country.
They were already here. So he didn't discover. He discovered the land. He didn't discover a country. I mean, the land was already discovered by the Native Americans.
What am I going to drive over to Pennsylvania and say I just discovered Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
There's already people there. But anyways, that's beside the point. But now one quick thing on high school football. I know that college football and pro football, if they don't play, they're going to be losing a lot of money, especially with the universities. But isn't high school football something, if they didn't have a high school football season, wouldn't they save money, though?
No, the OHSAA would be losing a ridiculous amount of money.
No, I'm talking about the individual high schools themselves. Isn't football an expensive thing for high schools?
Yeah, but they're making money on it. They're making money. That's the only sport that makes a significant amount of money.
Okay, because I thought some of these schools that had financial problems, high schools I'm talking about, a lot of them have to continue their football programs to save money.
Well, no, the football programs are the reason that they get the money that they get. I mean, football is the number one money maker in high school sports. So that's one of the reasons why I think that there are a lot of worried people that we may not have a football season, and that would be a very, very tough pill to swallow for the OHSAA because you'd have some serious financial concerns then.
Yeah, it'd also be tough for the kids, especially the seniors and the ones that are not. I mean, most of them are not, most of them will not go on to play college football, obviously, but just being able to play your senior year in football is something you've worked toward, and having that taken away from you, just like what happened with the spring sports, where they weren't able to finish any of that, some of the seniors, and they had to graduate without finishing that. But then I understand, too, back to baseball real quick, that the Tigers are going to have some scrimmages with some teams, and they think that the Indians and possibly the White Sox, they could have some spring training scrimmages before they start playing the real games here shortly. That's what I heard.
Oh, I'm sure that that's going to wind up happening at some point in time. Now, I want to go back to the Indians because if we're going to change that name, then locally there's 4 schools in the Mahoning Valley that may have to do the same. The Southern Local Indians, the Girard Indians, the Brookfield Warriors, the West Branch Warriors. If we're going to change it nationally and regionally, it's only a matter of time, one would think, before the outcry is there for the high school teams.
Yeah, are you aware of any team in our area or maybe in Ohio high school that has done that?
Man, if there is, I'd love to know who, because it escapes me. And like I said, my alma mater, I think we're pretty safe. I'm hoping to interview Yogi Berra and make sure that he's not offended.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen a Spartan walking around my neighborhood lately, so I think we're safe too.
Yeah, I think those days are long gone, and and I think Salem is going to be pretty safe too, because we haven't seen a Quaker in hundreds of years.
Well, I'm surprised they don't use cavemen more, because and that's why Geico was so successful using the caveman, because there weren't any cavemen around to complain about that. They were pretty much gone.
I want to know if there's going to be any Potters that are going to be disrespected down in East Liverpool.
Well, keep in mind that Potters means something different down at Ohio University than what East.
Well, this is true. This is true.
So don't be so disrespectful. That name. That's a good name. Potters.
Yeah, no, that is. Yeah, that's and if you get rid of it, it's up in smoke.
Yeah, well, I just can't wait till the Indians and Tigers start playing, because the Indians have won 27 of the last 29 games against the Tigers.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful journey for the Indians, kind of getting back at Detroit for the many years that Detroit stuck it to Cleveland during the early days of Miguel Cabrera.
It's amazing that these teams have played together in the same league for 120 years basically, and they really haven't been good at the same time. You could count on one hand.
Yeah.
How many times they've been good at the same time. They really don't have the rivalry you would expect they would have, because they're never good at the same time. And usually one team is very good and one team is very bad, it seems like, most of the time.
Yeah, 2013 and 2014, and I remember Detroit came to Cleveland on Labor Day, and Doug Pfister, who I broadcast his games when he was pitching for West End, he was the starting pitcher for the Tigers that day. And Cleveland was within shouting distance of Detroit and didn't get it done. But that's probably the only couple of years in my lifetime where both teams were good at the same time.
Yeah, it's amazing. They had Verlander, Scherzer, Pfister, Anibal Sanchez, David Price. All these pitchers Detroit had, all the hitters they had, and they couldn't win a World Series.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Indians of the
1990s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. All right, that's all I got today. So good luck with that, and hopefully they'll play ball. I'm looking forward to baseball. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Fingers crossed. Thanks for the call, champ. Appreciate it. All right, 330-886-0813. We'll get a hold of Dana Balish, and we'll get his take on everything that's going on the Monday after a holiday weekend, and hopefully everyone's holiday weekend was fine. I had a nice time. I umpired 3 games on Saturday, umpired a game on Sunday, and everything's good. Everything's good. Had a good 4th of July dinner, and had a couple of adult beverages, and it's all good. All right, 330-886-0813. Dana Balish coming up next. Stick around.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity.
Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
Friday night, in this fresh limousine. I'm feeling pretty good about myself, living the dream. Platform shoes, strutting down the street. It's gonna get hot in here, I hope you can handle the heat.
Over the years, you watched us grow, and as we've grown, so has the Myers Family Insurance team.
Thanks to all of you who have trusted our families to help you with your Medicare needs.
Myers Family Insurance looks forward to helping you now for years to come, so call our family today and remind them how cute we are.
Myers Family Insurance continues to be the area's resource for all your Medicare and retirement needs. Call today, 330-286-3044.
Little after 1 o'clock on this Monday edition of Running Point, Anthony Hardwig is out for the week. He is in Kansas City enjoying some barbecue. And, oh, by the way, my guy is going to be bringing back some barbecue sauce for yours truly. Oh, yeah, going to have the mild and then going to have the hot. And, that's gold. Because anytime you can get barbecue sauce from Kansas City or Memphis, you got to hoard that stuff because that's just liquid gold. It really is. And people that don't understand just how incredible the barbecue is in Kansas City, Memphis, and in the Mason, south of the Mason-Dixon line. Whoo, man, down in Alabama, I think it's Dreamland Barbecue. Good God, is their food good. All right, let's get to the phone lines, and let's talk with 21 Sports Director Dana Ballas, who checks in every Monday at this time. Dana, how are you today, sir?
Doing well, Ron. Yourself?
I cannot complain. All right, so over the weekend, the Cleveland Indians, and following on the heels of the Washington Redskins, finally saying, okay, we're going to relent and change the name of our club. The Cleveland Indians are investigating, or not investigating, but they're trying to come up with an idea to possibly do the same thing. And what I like about their potential change is they're going to consult with the very people that they should be consulting with, and that's the Native Americans. And I think that the Native Americans' opinion is going to hold a tremendous amount of water in the determining factor of whether the Indians are going to be another name.
Well, it's funny, Ron. The last couple of days I've been on some Zoom calls with Francona and some of the players, and not one of the players, when asked about changing the name, has said anything negative about it. I mean, the general consensus is that everyone's saying it's time to listen, and I think that's the message that's being sent. It's time to listen, and maybe listen a little more intently now. I mean, back several years ago, I think people were listening, but I don't think they were taking it serious. I think after the Indians got rid of Chief Wahoo, in 2018, and the All-Star game last year, I think it opened some eyes, and certainly with what's happening in our country with the Redskins, is a step in that direction to change the name. I think, to bring it to a local level, Ron, I think some high schools will again be faced with this as well. I mean, the Girard Indians, the Southern Local Indians, could be asked very well to change the name as well, because I think if a pro team will do it, then I think it will come down to the local high schools as well. So It's interesting. I know there's been a lot of debate about it, but I think when the Indians got rid of Chief Wahoo in 2018, this kind of opened the door for that.
You bring up two more names with Indian or Native American connotations: Brookfield and West Branch.
Well, there's Brookfield and there's West Branch, and there's the Badger Braves, who doesn't play football. There's the Raiders and some others. So I think this is going to be something. I mean, you could even get into the Devils, whether it's Blue Devils or Red Devils, and there's a long list of those schools as well. So I think this is something that will be looked at more intently on the local level. I think it will be discussed at the local level, and we'll kind of just see what happens.
Going back to Cleveland, and again, if the Native Americans that they plan on speaking with, if they are offended by the term Indians, I think that Cleveland has an opportunity to remarket their team, but they also have an opportunity to sit back and say, okay, we're going to drop the name Indians, and we're now going to be known as the Cleveland Tribe. And you can use tribe in various different ways. It's not just an American Indian or a Native American culture. Tribe is used to describe one's family, one's nationality, one's religion. It's not exclusive to the Native American tongue.
Yeah, I mean, William and Mary have the tribe as their nickname at the collegiate level. I think, Ron, if there is a name change, I think they will kind of step out of that, any possibility of, being controversial, I guess is the best way to put it. So it's going to be interesting. This has been a wacky year, when it comes to everything going on. And, this is just another one of those chapters that, it's like, okay, this is going to happen. And Ron, I think it will happen. It's just a matter of when it happens.
Cleveland Rockers is a name that was used by the short-lived WNBA team, but I think Cleveland Rockers would be an outstanding name. I think everyone loved the All-Star insignia of the guitar. I think Cleveland Rockers, Cleveland Spiders, paying homage to a team of about 100 years ago, a little over 100 years ago. If they're going to go in another direction, this is an opportunity for Cleveland to have, if they get it right, a huge windfall with the gear and all that other stuff. And in a really bizarre way, depending on how soon they do this, all that money that could very well be accumulated by the jersey sales and whatnot could very well be enough money to sign Lindor to a long-term deal.
Well, I don't know about that. He was asked that question about 15 minutes ago, about the possibility of playing his final season in Cleveland without fans, and very professionally, Lindor says, look, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about this virus, whether we're going to play this season, whether, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to be very proactive when it comes to this. We're being tested every other day. And that was the right answer, Ron. I mean, and certainly the maturity of Lindor was shown there, where it's not all about dollars and cents at this time. He says there'll be a time to look at that situation, but right now the time is to make sure that everyone is safe. And, quite frankly, the Indians have been pretty lucky so far. I mean, the Nationals and the Astros shut down workouts today, and the Indians, again, knock on wood, have done a pretty good job. And again, Lindor said, look, we all agreed in the labor negotiations for a 21-day training camp, and all these teams have to have 21 days. If a couple of teams shut down, what's that going to mean? So, again, Ron, a lot of unanswered questions when it comes to the baseball season.
If you were to put the odds of having Major League Baseball in its 60-game season, start to finish, including the postseason, what kind of odds would you give, Dana?
I would give it less than half right now, Ron, to be quite honest. I just think with everything going on, the Memorial Golf Tournament, they were going to have fans next week. They've pulled back on that now. There's so many cases coming up, excuse me, not only in baseball, but in the other sports. Ron, I really think it's going to be difficult for, any sport to start let alone not be interrupted and finish. And that includes high school, Ron. That includes high school with the season, 7 weeks away, just over 7 weeks away. I get asked every day, what do I think? And my answer is, look, under the protocols that we have today on July 6th, you cannot play touch football. How in 6.5 weeks or 7 weeks are you going to go from not being able to play touch football to playing full-fledged tackle football?
That brings us up to what we were going to talk about, and it's perfect timing. The Ivy League is expected to move all of their fall sports to the spring of 2021. Now, this is important because the Ivy League were the forerunners in canceling college basketball. They were the first league to cancel the college basketball season, then everyone else followed suit. And not just in the college level, but in the high school level as well. State of Michigan has flat out said, their governor about a week ago flat out said, we're moving our football to the spring of 2021.
Well, and again, Ron, she asked that the Michigan Athletic Association look at that. I don't believe there was a decision on that. She asked that be considered. I don't think she mandated that happens. And again, I think in certain situations it has to be looked at. I can't see, Ron, in the state of Ohio that the governor's saying, okay, if your county is okay, you can play. If your county's in the red, you can't play. I don't think the Ohio High School Athletic Association is going to let that happen. Second of all, I think it's paramount that the Ohio High School Athletic Association some way, somehow, get the football playoffs in this year because of financial reasons. So I think they're going to do everything in their power to play the game, whether it's 6, 5, 7, in the fall, get the playoffs in, and so on and so forth. But you're also talking, and Ron, I think the biggest question right now for every coach, it's not whether there's going to be a season, whether the season's going to be delayed. I think what coaches want to know is just what's the next 6 weeks going to consist of? Are we starting on time? Are we being delayed? I think if they knew that, they would be much better off, because a lot of them tell me, look, we just don't know what's going on. A lot of coaches say, we don't want to get our guys ramped up and then have to shut it down. So I think I would hope this week we'll get some clarity from the Ohio High School Athletic Association on what is going to exactly happen in 7 weeks. But, Ron, with everything going on, with everything you read, again, common sense-wise, I just can't see how you can start a football season when you can't play tag right now.
They've been hand in hand, they being the OHSAA, they've been hand in hand with Governor DeWine. And Governor DeWine, to his credit, has not said anything regarding the start or regarding the high school football season. If he has, it's not been very much. As we get closer and closer, I just wonder, Dana, if this topic is going to be completely addressed, because I'm with you. I don't see how you can start a season in 7 weeks, given the fact that Ohio has become a state in which COVID is on the rise, and I don't know how you can expect to have the season start in 7 weeks based on what we're seeing right now.
Well, I'm going to go back to one of your statements, and I'm going to completely disagree that the governor and the Ohio High School Athletic Association are hand in hand. My sources tell me the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the governor's office have not spoken in 2.5 weeks. Ron, also, which is very mind-boggling to me, someone who covers high school sports, is that the governor has a committee that started baseball and softball, the Youth League baseball and softball, and that committee was very publicly known of who they were. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why the Ohio High School Athletic Association, be it the commissioner, be it the executive director, be it someone who does not have a seat at that table when it comes to making decisions when it's about high school sports. And that's a big problem, because if you go back, when the lieutenant governor announced scrimmages can take place, well, what's the first thing that came to mind? Well, we could scrimmage another team. No, that's not the case. If you have someone from the OHSAA at that table, they'll explain to the lieutenant governor or the governors, look, here's what you have to say. It's not scrimmages, it's inter-squad scrimmages. It's scrimmaging one team apiece. They're scrimmaging with only your team. So I think there's a big question, and I think there's a big void there of why there is no representation by the Ohio High School Athletic Association when it comes to these decisions.
Well, they were hand in hand up until the end of the academic school year. Is that correct, Dana?
Well, they taught, but again, over the last 2.5 weeks, Ron, there has been no conversation between the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the governor's office, to my knowledge. And I just talked to someone very recently about this.
Well, that's disturbing in that if the OHSAA doesn't have a say-so in this, they're going to be in the blind, or they're going to be riding blind along with everyone else.
Well, and again, Ron, the couple of examples that come up is right before Memorial Day or right after Memorial Day, they said schools can open or practices can open up, or right before Memorial Day, practices could start. Okay, the Ohio High School Athletic, and if you read between the lines, the Ohio High School Athletic Association was, in my opinion, blindsided by that. Okay, then the governor's office announces these scrimmages. Well, again, I needed to get clarification on what scrimmages were, and I called my contacts, and they said, look, it's intra-squad scrimmages. And I says, why didn't the lieutenant governor mention that it was intra-squad scrimmages? And he says, well, because as I've told you before, we still don't have a seat at that table. So a lot of this confusion can be less confusing if the Ohio High School Athletic Association had a seat at this table. And that's very disturbing because you're talking about thousands and thousands of athletes.
Interesting dilemma that the state of Ohio has put themselves into. Although I will end it by saying this, judging on what is going on down in Struthers with how B-League is being played, it's basically business as usual. Things have been pretty good. The time limit has been a bit of a pain in the backside, but the business has been pretty much normal doing B-League baseball, and hopefully perhaps that's a sign of things to come.
Well, Ron, we'll see. But again, I would think sometime this week we would have some clarity exactly on what's happening with high school, because I think coaches need to know, and I think they want to know. I think administrators want to know. I think athletic directors want to know, look, am I preparing for a season in 7 weeks, or am I going to prepare for a season that starts in 10 weeks, 11 weeks? And I think, as we sit today, I find it very hard to believe that you could go from non-touch football to complete tackle football in 7 weeks under these conditions. Again, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Ron, that game's been canceled. The Memorial has now pulled fans out. So it's not trending in a good way, in my opinion.
Well, and the National Football League also dropping the amount of exhibition games down to 2. That's certainly not a good sign either.
Well, I think I read something this morning, and I may be wrong because I've been busy with some things. I think the Players Association voted to have no preseason games, if I read that right.
Going to have to investigate that, as we've been on the air since 12 noon. That's if that's the case, then you would have to wonder if the National Football League is even going to start the season on time, or if they're even going to play at all. It seems to me that the NHL, the NBA, they're on shaky ground already. Major League Baseball has guys dropping out left and right. It certainly doesn't look good for any of the sports.
No, and it doesn't. But again, I think this is where, and Ron, this is a case where it is a matter of life and death. You hear that all the time, but this is certainly one of those cases. And again, I thought Lindor really did a good job of explaining that today, of just what this is all about. And look, he says anybody could contact the virus. He goes, you just have to watch out for everybody, and they're trying to do that. And I just don't see how you can do that in contact sports like football, soccer, lacrosse, or anything else.
Dana, always a pleasure. Look forward to catching up with you next week, sir.
Thanks, Ron.
You got it. Dana Balish, TV 21 sports director, joining us every Monday on the YSN hotline. All right, going to take a timeout, and we'll be back with more. It's a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
They say American craftsmanship is making a comeback. Of course, at Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, it never went away.
People are floored by Baird Brothers' authentic hardwood floors. They stare at our stairs and adore our doors. Baird Brothers reflects 3 generations of family craftsmanship. Visit our huge in-stock selection in person or at BairdBrothers.com.
Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plan still meets your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
It's a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you. 330-886-0813. That is the number to call. Again, during the course of the broadcast, we learned of the passing of Charlie Daniels. Also, we've been talking about the possible new name for the Cleveland Indians, assuming that the right people are going to say, "Hey, let's get rid of the name Indians." And again, the term Indians was not given by the Native Americans. That was a term given by the non-Native Americans in describing the Native Americans. So we've come of age, obviously, and there's folks, and we'll find out just how offended Native Americans are with the term Indians. I can understand why you're offended by Redskins. Certainly can understand that, where the Washington Redskins, in all likelihood, they are going to change their name. If the Indians were to change their name, could you go Spiders? Yeah, okay, that's a name, a blast from the past, over 100 years ago. The Naps for Napoleon LaJoie, and again, over 100 years of age. The Wild Things. Okay, let's throw that from Charlie Sheen's character in Major League, which I think is the most overrated movie. And I say this because not because I didn't like the movie. I enjoyed the movie. I thought the movie was fantastic. It's overrated in terms of 90% of the movie was not filmed in Cleveland. I mean, if you're going to have a movie based upon the Cleveland Indians, and you're going to have a little bit of fun with it, and you're going to talk about how crappy the Indians organization has been, okay, I get it, and point and spot on the crappiness, because I was a child of the 70s, watched some crappy baseball in the 70s and through the 80s. No question. But at least have the movie shot in Cleveland and not in Milwaukee, or in Major League Two's case, Baltimore. Well, what are you kidding me? Film the movie in Cleveland. Film the movie showing that dilapidated piece of garbage known as Cleveland Municipal Stadium. Just film it. Now, they did show in the last game against the Yankees where the Indians won, they had the showing of Cleveland Municipal Stadium on one of the rare sellouts from back in the day. Again, that's my personal beef with the movie was the fact that not all of it, and a very small portion of it, was filmed in Cleveland. I got a problem with that. I mean, the movie itself was fantastic. It certainly is near the top. I would still say Field of Dreams is better. Bull Durham is better. The Natural is better. But Major League is up there. It's just I have a serious problem with the fact that not the majority of the movie was filmed in Cleveland. It was filmed in friggin' Milwaukee. Are you kidding me? County Stadium looks nothing like Municipal Stadium. Nothing. And then the other one was when you put it at Camden Yards. What? No. Come on. Stop that. So Wild Things is a name that could come out of this. I still like the Rockers. Yeah, it's from the WNBA, short-lived team, but Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, even though it's not deserving, but the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is in Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, the Rockers, hence the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You can still have the guitar as the logo if you want to do it that way. At the end of the day, the city of Cleveland, if they change their name, they have a golden opportunity to market this team and reap the rewards of, depending on how they do this, reap the rewards of a ton of gear. Now, I got to believe the organization is going to have most of that money when they sell the gear. So let's fast forward a year. I want everyone to understand where I'm going with this. And we spoke with Dana Balish, and we'll see if we can get people to call in on this one. Think about this for a second. If the Indians organization decides, okay, you know what, after speaking with Native Americans, we have determined that we need to change the name. And so they change the name, and they're no longer the Cleveland Indians. They're now the Cleveland Spiders or the Cleveland Rockers or whatever. And they have an unbelievably great-looking logo, and their gear is top-notch. People are going to start buying that stuff. I think everyone's going to realize where I'm going with this. The end of the 2021 season, Francisco Lindor is a free agent. If Cleveland markets this correctly, again, and assuming they change the name, who knows if they do, but assuming they change the name and it's marketed brilliantly, Lindor could stay in Cleveland. I mean, think about it. If you have the money, a sudden shot of money coming in thanks to a brand new nickname, brand new gear, brand new money coming in thanks to this nickname and gear, that money could go to signing Francisco Lindor. And then you have a win-win proposition because, well, let's face it, the fans are not too happy with the Dolan family. They haven't been happy with the Dolan family for quite some time. They haven't shown up at Progressive Field the last 7 years in a very consistent way. I mean, again, the team is averaging 93 wins a season for the last 7 years, and yet for the last 7 years, the Indians have not been able to get out of the bottom third of attendance. In 2016, they were 28th in attendance. Tampa Bay and Miami were the two organizations that were below Cleveland despite Cleveland going to the World Series that year. So think about this. Let's say that the Indians do get off the organization, and they decide to go a completely different direction, and they have primo gear. They have incredible gear that everyone wants to purchase, and the Indians organization, whichever the name of the team is, the organization now becomes a must-have for the gear, a must-have for all the stuff that is going along with the brand new Cleveland organization. All that money could possibly go to signing Francisco Lindor to a long-term deal, and all of a sudden, the Dolan family looks pretty damn good right now. I'm bringing my boss in, and he's chugging down some Arnold Palmer, or are we going green tea?
Just green tea.
Green tea. All right, hang on a second. Let me put you up here. Ow, what is that?
I have no idea.
All right.
See what happens when Anthony goes away?
Yeah, all hell breaks loose around here. Now, you got to pick the headphones up. Yeah, because that was squeaking. All right.
All right, we're clear.
All right, we're now clear. Clear for takeoff. Flight 345, clear for takeoff. Okay.
Can you imagine this guy as your pilot of your airplane? I would get right the hell off.
And welcome aboard Flight 345 with services to hell. Captain Potesta with you, flying the plane through the course of the earth into hell.
What's that David Spade bit? Bye-bye. That would be me. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I don't want to be on this flight. Get me out of this flight, please.
Interesting times we're living in right now,
Oh,
Ronnie.
my goodness. Woo!
This has been quite the topic. We just released our question of the day that we're starting back up, and naturally the question is, what should the mascot be for the Cleveland baseball team? And I mean, you got some interesting takes on this. We talked about it before the show. I don't mind the spiders coming back. I think they could do some stuff with the spiders. But I like Dana's take. Is as much as I'd love to see them become the Tribe, they probably, if they're going to change the name, aren't going to do it like, well, we're just kicking the can down the road a little bit. They're probably going to jump out of the circle.
Yeah, they're going to jump out of the circle. I mean, look, I think the Tribe would be good, but would it sell all kinds of money for the gear? Probably not.
No, I think it would. Because we talked about the marketing, and you know I love marketing. So the biggest thing for them is this is an opportunity.
Oh, this is an opportunity of a lifetime.
So, they don't have to do it on their own. They can say, well, our hand was forced. We had to do this. You keep the colors. You keep I think you could change. The jerseys are hideous to begin with. The way they change their uniforms. I think they're some of the worst.
The Block C is disgusting.
It's stupid. Yeah. It's dumb. I get what they're trying to do with it, but it's dumb. Like, take ownership of your team and do something. The spiders would be interesting. I like the Rockers within reason. I think that you're going to have problems with branding and trademarking because of the Rockers being a WNBA. I think they probably still own the rights to it. I think you can come up with a different name, but I do like the idea of Cleveland being the home of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I really like the Tribe, though, but I think Dana's on point. I think they're just going to move right out of that circle. Because why would you do it if you're just going to kind of shift a little bit?
All right, let me throw some names down because a guy that I follow, McNeil, he's a real smart ass. He has odds out.
There's one that I really like, but nobody else will.
Okay, Spiders is 3-1. Naps are 4-1.
What's the Naps?
The Napoleon LaJoie. It's
dumb.
You'd have to be a historian of Cleveland Indians fame to understand that. Guardians, 5-1.
I've heard that one's going to be considered.
Guardians, okay. I mean, depending on how you throw out the gear, I would be curious on that. Buckeyes, if they do that, I'm done with Cleveland as far as this team goes. It's bad enough we have the team in Columbus that I will not root for. If you put that name on the Cleveland Indians or the former Indians, I'm done with the organization.
I don't think they'll get that because of Ohio State. I think they'll avoid that at all costs.
The Dobies, Larry Doby, 7-1. Wild Things, in honor of Ricky Vaughn, at 8-1. Blue Sox at 9-1. Cleveland Rocks at 10-1, although you would probably have a little bit of marketing with Ian, who the hell sang Cleveland Rocks? Ian...
From the Drew Carey Show? Like that?
Well...
that was the President's the USA.
Yeah, that was a remake of Ian, and I can't remember the guy's last name, but he sang it first. The Cuyahogas. In honor of the river, you can always have flames coming out of.
But from that, this is tongue in cheek. But wouldn't that just be the same? Because isn't that a Native American term?
Yeah, but you would also be honoring a certain American.
Nobody can say that name right in the first place, so I think you just avoid that one too.
Yeah, it's Cuyahoga.
I've heard Cuyahoga. I've heard Cuyahoga. I've heard Cuyahoga from down here.
Yeah, yeah. The Crows or the Rockers.
Crow, like Sheryl Crow?
Yeah, I mean black crows or
hell no, because that looks a lot like a raven.
Yeah,
can you imagine that?
Oh no!
Can you imagine that?
Browns fans would really be pissed at Indians fans then, or whatever. Cleveland Unions.
Pass.
Cleveland Fellers.
Pass.
Oh God, I'm not even going to say it, but
it's got to be it.
Yeah,
it's the one.
The Cleveland Steamers.
That's the one I love. I love it. All you need is a choo-choo train. I mean, you could basically hijack the Nolan Ryan team, the Express.
There you go.
I love it. I love it because
except for the the connotation of the urban dictionary of.
I get it. Trust me.
Yeah.
But you have to embrace it a little bit. Listen. When the Shockers went around, they had the shock, like Wichita State, they are the Shockers. They sold so many things because they were the Shockers. If you're the Cleveland Steamers, I'm telling you, you're on. It's on. Like you will have people from all over America, maybe don't like the team, love the gear. And that's what the marketing aspect needs to be.
I just don't know if I could get behind an organization that has a connotation that is quite uncomfortable to speak of.
I also heard this one, and I have mixed feelings. And you got to tell me, the Cleveland Scrappers.
No.
Listen.
No.
You don't have to. It's in your organization. You don't have to change much, and all of a sudden, all the people that are worried about our Scrappers are now Scrappers fans at the professional level. There's a lot of upside to this. And then you have that scrappy mentality in Cleveland. So somebody mentioned to me, and I said, well, first I hated it. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, Cleveland Scrappers might work.
Scrappers.
Same colors.
Yeah.
I like it. The board. Then you can have the dog. You can have Scrappy, which is very similar to the Cleveland Browns.
You can have
dogs.
Scrappy and Slider going at it in a steel cage every home game.
What happens to Slider? Does he go with him?
No, the Slider doesn't offend anyone. I mean,
he offends me.
Well, I mean, it's if you like cartoon character mascots. I mean, that's whatever. I don't know. That's
Steamer
Scrappers.
Fans. Write me down. I'm putting my ballot in the box. Steamers.
The Cleveland Steamers.
I like it. You could be a train.
I mean, yeah, it's unfortunately there's going to be people that are going to look at this and go, wait a second, isn't that where... No, I don't want to be known as that. Come on.
But, Steve and I were fortunate enough to go down to Houston, and we saw the train that they do down in Houston. It goes back and forth.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool to put at Progressive Field and have a train going back and forth every time you hit a home run. Because there's really nothing that happens in Cleveland. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Nothing happens other than like the music and stuff like that.
Yeah, the fireworks go off.
Do they even have the lights? Do they have the lights now?
No.
So having a train that would go kind of stealing their gimmick a little bit down in Houston, because I get it that you have the Houston or whatever they are, the Rolling Rock Express or whatever that Nolan Ryan has, but stealing it and using it up here, I think it'd be neat. If you could get over the connotation.
Yeah.
Yes. But I think you at this point where the world is, roll the dice. Let's go.
I have the sudden urge to take a dump right now. Just Put the
Too
feet,
much coffee.
Put the feet right on that line right there. Just leave it there. Oh, God. Well, back when I was in the Southern League and the Orlando team was leaving for Montgomery, Alabama, everyone just looked at the owners of Montgomery and thought they were nuts for saying Montgomery biscuits. And then you saw what the hat involved. You saw the mascot, and then the mascot's tongue is a pat of butter, and you saw everything just take off.
That's the cool thing about sports, is it can be a mascot of absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be something. Like, one of my favorite names is, I forget the name of or where it's actually from, but I just found out that they're the Trash Pandas.
Oh, yeah. In Huntsville.
The
Huntsville Trash Pandas.
Is that it?
Yeah.
I thought it was a Rocket City or whatever.
Rocket City Trash Pandas, but they're based out of Huntsville.
Unbelievable. Like, I want their gear now. I want it yesterday. Because the Trash Pandas is a term used in Guardians of the Galaxy. And it's for a raccoon.
Yes.
It's a trash panda.
Yeah.
Love it.
And they kind of sort of stole the backstory of Huntsville, because Huntsville before Houston was NASA territory, and they still have a bunch of stuff with NASA.
Yeah.
So when I was in the Southern League, it was the Huntsville Stars. Okay.
Makes sense.
Trash Pandas, again, Guardians of the Galaxy, space movie.
Yep.
NASA, kind of scrunched together.
Yep.
And you have this unbelievable format, and
huge fan.
The logo is incredible. Everything it's on point. Unfortunately, they didn't get an opportunity to play this year.
Right.
But in 2021, when they do play, it should be an awful lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think that if Cleveland has another chance, if ownership has another chance, I think they put it out to the city. Because that's the way that you get the city involved. I believe Mahoning Valley did the same thing with the Scrappers.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good way to get people involved, and people can vote on it. And you still have 51% of the claim. But if you let the fans do 49%, that's not a bad thing.
No, and again, I think that Montgomery, they did the same thing. And someone said, hey, the biscuits. Well, biscuits, a Southern cuisine kind of food.
Love it.
And look, I'll say it. Biscuits are a whole lot better down south than they are up here. I don't know what it is, but biscuits down there and cornbread down there, good God, is it good food.
You know, the other one I heard about Cleveland was the Lakers, that I thought was pretty interesting because it's not used in baseball.
No, it isn't. It isn't. I think the L.A. Lakers would have something to say about that. But then again, L.A. shouldn't have been called the Lakers to begin with. They left Minneapolis, the state of 1,000 lakes, or 10,000 lakes, to go to Los Angeles. There ain't a lake in Los Angeles.
Yep.
There's an ocean. Yep. There ain't a lake in Los Angeles.
They could be the Oceaners.
Yeah.
They could be those guys.
Yeah, it's just...
Would you get behind the Cleveland Lakers?
I could deal with that.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it'd be cool.
I think the Cleveland Great Lake, something of that nature. What did Pete Franklin used to call them? The Lake Erie Papooses.
But like, if you want to get real crazy, you can do something like the platypus, or like the killer whales, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, we don't have any killer whales in Cleveland.
But you don't want to be like no offense to Miami, you don't want to be the Dolphins, because the Dolphins can butt you with their head, or I don't even know what they.
No, and we don't have any dolphins because they're in salt water, and there's no salt water in Cleveland.
And there's no porpoise to having that.
Oh, wow!
Bazinga!
Wow!
Got him!
Oh, wow! Fastball just went right by me.
Yep, you saw it, right? Cheese. And what else is Cleveland known for other than the Great Lakes and people drinking?
Cuyahoga River caught on fire. That's the Cleveland
firemen,
the Cleveland River Fire, or the
exhaust. They could just be the exhaust because fans are exhausted from all the crap they have to go through.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, again, if the faster they do this, because, Lindor's on the time clock right now. I mean, if they were to sit back and say, assuming we get through 2020, which I don't even know if we're going to. There's so many people that are dropping out now. And now the Astros and the Nationals canceled their camps for the next couple of days. This is a disaster waiting to happen. But
we all know why the Astros canceled theirs. They're catching heat. Anytime the Astros take the field, whether it's one game or 60, they're catching heat. And there's people that are going to watch baseball just to watch Astros taken in the ribs.
Yeah, but Manfred is going to start suspending people for a long length of time if they do that.
I've said it. Here's my thing, Ron. I said it on Power Hour. I think the Astros probably have the best chance to win the championship out of everybody. Because if you're going to start throwing at them, and I know you said Manfred's going to back, but they will get hit.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll probably get hit at a bigger clip than anybody else. You're going to give them free passes with that lineup?
Yeah, exactly. You can't do that.
Yeah, it's stupid. And you don't have the games. You don't have 162 games to fall back on.
That's the other thing. You better get off to a good start, because if you get off to a 2-8 start, well, a sixth of the season is gone, and you're already behind the 8 ball.
Do you believe? I know you asked Dana. Do you believe that this is going to happen?
I don't think that the season will end.
You don't think they'll just cancel it?
I think at some point in time they're going to cancel this. I don't see how they can do this. There's COVID flying around. There's guys that are already saying, "Hey, we don't want to do this." Mike Trout, who's allegedly the face of the Major League Baseball. I say allegedly because Major League Baseball doesn't know how to market this guy. He's only the best player since friggin' Ted Williams or Mickey Mantle. But hey, let's not market this guy. Whatever.
They knew how to market Griffey. I don't know if they just forgot or somebody moved on that we had no idea about from the marketing. Like, they always knew how to market Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah.
Why can't we market Mike Trout or somebody else to be the face?
Anthony brought up an interesting point that baseball has not caught up with social media, and there's a bunch of older people, and I'll have to use myself in this. I mean, I'm okay with doing my Facebook and Twitter, but
Best follow in town.
But I don't, I don't think that I could do a really good job with, because I don't have the knowledge of social media like the younger generation does. Your generation and those in their 20s and upper teens. If I'm the Indians or Major League Baseball in general, I'm starting to hire some of these people that are savvy in the social media regards and saying, look, we got to catch up because the young kids don't give a shit about our product.
Yeah.
We got to start catching up and get the young kids involved in this. And I think getting it on social media is a big thing. But man, the knucklehead in charge of Major League Baseball, I don't see how anything is going to be accomplished.
So a couple of different things. Cleveland does better than most when it comes to
I agree
social
with
media.
that.
They're outstanding. And I know some of the people that work in that organization, not personally, but my brother-in-law works within the Cavs and the Indians. So did my sister for a long time. They're outstanding because they are younger generation. They are like my age, maybe a little bit younger.
Yeah.
They did something last year that they didn't even unveil until this year, which they had like 95 Nicolas Cages hidden in their marketing stuff. And now people can go back and I forget what they were giving away, like season tickets or something, some kind of prize that they're giving away for the people that can spot the most Nicolas Cages in their marketing. Like, brilliance.
Nice.
And the fact that they kept it a secret for so long, an entire year, which nowadays you're lucky to keep it a secret for a week and a half before somebody figures it out. Cleveland. So if people could just take, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, if people could just take a page out of the Cleveland playbook for that, then Major League Baseball would be well. But the problem is, Major League Baseball, as you've alluded to so many times, the average fan's age is
57.
And an average 57-year-old does not want to spend their time on Twitter, on Facebook, or anything like that.
Nope.
That's the problem that we're having with this, trying to get your demographic, your followers, and we're getting them little by little, but we're scraping that pan trying to figure out how to do it.
And you can sit back and say, hey, and I've done it on Facebook, All you need to do is,
Click
Google
this, click this.
Google Running Point, YSN, takes you right to the page.
And we've paid a lot of money to make sure that you could do that. So please do that.
But the problem is, the very people that listened to the show when I was on 1390, and the numbers bared it out, 35 to 64. Oh my God, I was rocking the joint.
Yeah.
I was attracting all kinds of men and women at 35 to 64. Those people, no disrespect, I'm one of them. We're not going on Twitter or Facebook or wherever. And they're used to turning on a radio and listening to a show.
So you have two demographics that you're dealing with there. The 35 to 64, which will listen to your show in its entirety.
Yep.
While doing something else.
Yep.
You have the 34 to, let's say,
18 to 34.
Right? And you have, they speak, they listen, they do everything in clips, as we call it. So they will listen to you 34 times during that 3 hours, but they won't get every word that they're listening for certain, almost like quotes, right?
Yeah.
Trigger words and things like that. And we've talked about that stuff. So you have flipped the script from being 35 to 64 to being 18 to 34. And what we have found in our research is that no matter what the age, 18 to 64, they love you. It's just trying to get this other demographic to find you again. Like the other day, I was out and about with my wife, and we got stopped, and we talked. She had a YSN hat on.
Nice.
And they said, "What's YSN?" And we said, "Oh, I've heard about that. It's the Youngstown Sports Network." And I said,
okay. Yeah. Well,
it's your sports network,
not Youngstown, but your.
But then, what channel is that on? And I said, well, we're affiliated and we're partnered happily with Channel 21 WFMJ, but you can find us on the web at ysnlive.com. What do I do there? Well, you go online and this is the conversation that we've had for 3 years, which I'm happy to have. But since COVID, this has turned completely on it. And that's why your ratings, I think, have started to go, because the world is figuring out streaming.
Exactly.
We were at this point, we always said 10 years ahead of our time. We're 3 years ahead of our time because COVID is forcing everybody to stream. And now people are figuring out, holy hell, Ron's been on the air for the last 4 months? I've missed all this? Well, the best part about what we do is you can go back.
You can go back and listen to it.
In the archives.
Yeah.
But, dude, like, I don't know, to bring it full circle, I don't know that you're going to be able to get a mascot that isn't going to offend somebody. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be in their place right now where they've got to pick something that they choose and they've got to go all eggs in the basket, right? Because you can't do this again 5 years from now.
This is true.
What do you do?
You better come up with something really good, and no pressure or anything. But your franchise player is about to leave town if you don't come up with a crap load of money. So if you're going to do this, do it in the off season. Have unbelievable gear. And watch everyone flock to this unbelievable gear, spending ridiculous amounts of money for said gear, and use that money to sign Lindor. Not only do you extend an olive branch to the people that can't stand you, and the fans can't stand the Dolan family, and they've clearly made it known in their lack of showing up at Progressive Field. If you sign Lindor to a long-term deal, and you could, if you do your naming rights correctly, everything comes back to full circle, and Cleveland now becomes just as big a baseball town as it is a football town.
So there's a couple things. Number one, the marketing won't make him stay. I don't think.
No, but you can have the money to sign him.
The money comes from the sponsorships. The money comes from Progressive. The money comes
from
all those logos you see on the outfield.
But also the gear that people are going to purchase.
Now, the way it works is, let's say, and this is going to be interesting because I don't know how the tail end of this works. If you are Francisco Lindor and you're number 12, okay, and you decide this is an MLBPA/MLB licensing deal, you decide that you're going to change your name or your number to 1. Okay, you have to buy all of your gear out personally. So if you have $6 million of gear out there, you have to buy it.
Wow.
That's how it works.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
like when Kobe changed his number from 8 to 24, he had to buy all of the gear that was currently out that had the 8 on it because the team invested all that money and they were not going to.
Okay. Makes sense.
So you have that. If Cleveland, if the Indians change from the Indians to whatever, the Rocks or the Rockers or Spiders, whatever, will the players, I would assume no, because it's not up to the players, but will the players have to buy their gear? And if so, or if not, can they change their numbers now freely? I would say yes, because the gear's not, it's going to be completely different.
Yeah, it's completely different.
And
Why
then,
not?
And then the other part of that, this whole equation that we're not looking at, is some people, my mother, my sister, even myself to some degree, people like teams based on colors. So if the Cleveland team changes their colors from red, white, and blue, to red, white, and yellow, or red, white, and orange, or whatever color that ends up being, will they have a drop off in fans? Would you like what would have to happen for you to jump off the Cleveland baseball boat? Is there anything?
Well, you put Buckeyes, I'm done. That's just asinine, number one, and
Any
number two.
type of tree nut in Ron Podesta
well,
is gone.
No, just Buckeyes.
If they were the Cleveland pine nuts, you're all in.
I'm all in on the pine nuts. Absolutely. Grape nuts. I'm all in on the grape nuts, too. Have Wilford Brimley come out and say, grape nuts is good for you. Won't give you the diabetes.
You're going to get a box.
Going to get a box of grape nuts. It won't cause diabetes.
By the way, no grapes and grape nuts.
No.
The worst marketing. I guess worst or best, depending on how you look at it. The worst marketing ever.
All I know is it's crunchy and you can chip some teeth.
Yeah.
But it's good.
What?
Oh, I love grape nuts.
Oh, I'd rather
put it in yogurt.
I would rather eat a box of gravel.
It's pretty much the same thing.
Bingo.
But if you put it in yogurt, now you actually have yogurt, crunchy yogurt. It's pretty good. If you change the colors, I mean, that would be a little disturbing if you got rid of the red, white, and blue.
So the Browns are
orange,
brown, white, and orange.
Orange, white, and brown.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what the Cavs are right now.
Well, the Cavs should always be wine and gold, and and again, when God bless him, but Gordon Gunn, when he wanted to be and was the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, he wanted the Cavaliers to have the Knicks colors. Well, you had great color patterns in the wine and gold. You should have never gotten rid of wine and gold. Personally, and again, it's just me, the iconic Cavaliers look was the early years of the Coliseum, the Cavs jersey that the Campy Russells, the Footsie Walkers, the Austin Cars, the Bingo Smiths, the Jim Jones. That uniform, phenomenal.
Their ones now are exceptional. I really like them. Really like them. My favorites of all time are the ones, was it the 07 season, LeBron, the navy blues?
Yeah.
Those are my favorite.
See, when they went navy blue, and I was like, oh, God, what did you guys do this?
Yep.
But, that was part of the latter years of the Coliseum with Doherty and all those other guys, and that's Gunn wanted to do that. If just pick a color, stay with a color, don't screw around with it, and just go from there.
I guess from this standpoint, I don't know what Cleveland's colors are. You know what I mean? Because the
Indians are red, white, and blue.
You go to Pittsburgh,
yeah,
it's black and gold everything.
Well, black and yellow.
Black and gold.
It's the only time they wear gold is when they're back in the early 70s with the mustard gold hat. That's not gold. What they're wearing isn't gold. It's friggin' yellow.
It's gold. It's described as gold.
It's Pittsburgh version of gold. High yoy and double yoy.
Hey, you use his name with respect.
Hey, Myron Cope. This is Myron Cope on sports.
the GOAT. I mean, to me, he's the GOAT.
He was an interesting dude.
Hey, he did a lot of good for a lot of youngsters with the terrible talent.
The terrible talent. It made a fortune.
It did and it did a lot of good for people.
Oodles and oodles of money. Hi, yoy.
Did you know that it was donated? That money was donated?
Oh yeah, it went to a help me out. It went to an organization, and I can't.
It was a nonprofit that was children that had some type of challenges.
Yeah.
Because I believe somebody affiliated with mine. I don't know if it was his child or had some trouble.
One would argue it would have been him, but neither here nor there.
But I like people like that. I love, and I think that Cleveland can do a lot of good things with this if they choose to. They're in a situation, Ronnie, where you and I talked about. This is gold for them.
It could be. If you do it right, it could very well be a gold mine of extra money.
And they've got an entire year to do it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's nothing that they have to do. It's going to happen. I hate to say that, people that are out there, it's going to happen. Like they can't bring it up and say no now, because then they look really bad.
Look, I mean, if you and I can applaud the organization for going to the source. They're not going to go to people that have no skin in the game. They're not going to go to the people that are not Native Americans and ask their opinion, because frankly, nobody gives a rat's patoot what your opinion is. You have no skin in the game. The people that are allegedly offended are the Native Americans. So go to the source and go to the Native Americans and ask them, hey, are you guys and gals good with the name Cleveland Indians? If they are, we're staying with the Cleveland Indians, and there you go, and everyone else can pound salt. If they're not, that's fine. Change it. Change the name.
Yeah, but you got to believe with what they did with Chief Wahoo.
Again, here's an interesting conversation. Friend of mine who's been in this business and is a freelancer and has done a ridiculous amount of stuff for the networks, HBO, and a bunch of other people, and working sound and whatnot. His argument with the Indians was, if I wore my Chief Wahoo gear out west, I had Native Americans looking at me like they wanted to throw down. I said, it's because of Chief Wahoo. They got rid of Chief Wahoo. Okay? If you put gear on that is Chief Wahoo-less, in my mind, everything should be okay. But again, I'm only 5.5% Native American. My great-grandmother on my mom's side of the family was half Cherokee. So my grandfather was a quarter, my mom is 12.5, 6.25% American Indian, Native American for me of the Cherokee Nation. I don't have enough percentage. I'm more Italian. So, if you name the Cleveland code name and that's derogatory toward Italians, Dago would be one. I would be pissed.
But another one would be Superman. Wasn't Superman based in Cleveland? So they could be the Cleveland Superman? That would be sweet.
I don't know if that was
I believe he was created in Cleveland. I believe the original artist.
Oh, man.
Yeah. The Cleveland Superman would be sweet. Sweet.
Faster than a speeding bullet.
More powerful than a locomotive. Powerful than the Cleveland Steamer.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, there you go. The only problem is I'm pretty sure that you would probably have to pay a fortune for the rights.
Oh, I'm sure. But you know what? Superman, I mean, just having Superman, I'd be all in. I'd be like, hey, pirates, we'll see you later. And I'm out. I'm out.
Well, you can't say see you later to the organization quite yet.
I mean, listen, it's not like any pirate fan owes Pittsburgh anything at this point.
True.
It like zero.
True.
The fact that I've painted my entire basement like PNC Park, the fact that I'm a diehard pirate fan, I'm looking for reasons right now, because you just look around and you go, okay, he's gone, he's on steroids, okay, what do we have left? It's like,
well, you got Josh Bell left.
it's like you look at it's like Major League where you look at this guy. This guy's dead.
Yeah.
Cross him
Cross
off.
him off.
We got nothing left.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we have our name. We have the Pirates.
That-
And nobody
it's-
can take that from us.
And you have the Pirates. You've got
Yar.
Greg Brown.
That's my dude.
And Josh Bell. And I saw the article, and the first thing that I remember, I had this conversation with Josh Bell's girlfriend's mother 2 weeks ago. Josh Bell's girlfriend grew up in the Mahoning Valley.
Okay.
And I am very close friends with her mother. And
Is that like the 5 degrees of separation from
pretty
Kevin
much.
Bacon?
Actually, this would
You're 3.
This would be 2 because Josh Bell and
Well, you would represent the 3rd. So if I
Yeah.
talk to you, you would be 3rd.
yeah. Well, I was told this thing 2 weeks earlier.
Okay.
And we were walking in Mill Creek, and I was asking. I said, "Hey, how's Josh doing with all of this stuff?" And the conversation of going into when Pittsburgh had the protest, and the conversation of Josh Bell wanting to be a part of the protest, and my friend's daughter, Josh Bell's girlfriend, saying, you probably want to go in this direction. And here, 2 weeks later, I'm reading in the newspaper, and I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, that found about this one 2 weeks ago. But yeah, that's. But I'm really happy that Bell is wanting to do a lot more within the city of Pittsburgh. He is becoming a very, very legitimate sports athlete out of the city of Pittsburgh. And I hope, and I don't think it's going to happen, but I hope that he stays after 2022. I don't think it's going to happen, but I hope that it does.
You and I have talked about the salary caps and the salary floors, and I think that something's got to happen.
Yeah.
Baseball is the only sport without one. It's been mass chaos. The Yankees aren't going to want it. The Red Sox aren't going to want it. Even the Pirates probably won't want it because they make so much money from the luxury tax.
Sure.
But it's got to happen. Like, baseball needs no pun intended, they need a shot in the arm, and they need it fast. And they're going to need it even more if what you are saying is going to come to fruition, because if the big players that are out there start dropping off, nobody's going to watch it.
Yeah.
Or it could be the opposite. I haven't figured it out yet. You look at it and you go, okay, maybe some no-namers start stepping up, and then people like to see the average Joes win a championship. So I want to see a salary cap. I have for a long time. Not that I'm anti-capitalist. I think that people should make however much money. But you get to a point where when it starts affecting the bottom line of a business, and you can have 30 good teams, right, as opposed to 6, 7, I think you have to look at it from a business perspective, and you need to start giving people to cheer for, giving something to cheer for.
Yeah.
Because when you get halfway through a 162-game season and your team's out of it already, why would people want to come?
No, that's true.
Why do people want to come?
Yeah, that's true.
And then you give Pittsburgh the opportunity to hang on to some of these guys. The Josh Bells, the Garrett Coles, you name it. Other teams need stars too. They need players too. And I think it gives baseball it gives them a fighting chance.
I don't know if I want to see a salary cap as much as I want to see a salary floor.
I know. We've had this conversation.
Yeah.
But I think there needs to be both. This is how much you get paid at the bottom. This is how much you get paid at the top.
That's where both sides are going to be like, yeah, don't want it.
Right.
Yeah, I think the players would love a salary floor. I know management would be like, hell no. We're not going to do a salary floor.
Management wants a salary cap. Because
management wants the salary cap. They don't want the salary floor. The players want the salary floor. They don't want the salary cap.
And this is what we call in business compromise.
Yeah.
So you want this, we want this. Let's settle on this.
We're doing it both.
Or we don't do it at all.
Yeah.
And then what happens? And then we have the same conversation next year. So
yeah. And the other, obviously, it's just everyone's walking on eggshells, and we'll see what happens in this 60-game season, if there is one. And I talked with Munch about this. It was found out a few days later. Manfred went on Dan Patrick's show and flat out said, prior to the 4th of July, we were never going to budge from 60 games. Wait a second.
Manfred's an idiot.
If that's the case, then you should have mandated, we're starting the season on the 4th of July, and this is how we're going to do it, and that's it.
He's an idiot.
He is.
He's an idiot. He doesn't go, and I fought you tooth and nail on this. And then I saw that movie, and I was like, this guy hates baseball. He hates baseball the way that I despise reading in a library. Like, he wants nothing to do with it, and yet that's like me being the president of the library. It would make no sense. No sense.
So am I safe to assume that you're not going to a library anytime soon?
No. I don't think I own any library cards, but if I do,
I actually, hang on a second.
Oh boy,
Letonia Library. Yeah, I actually do have a library card.
When Corona's over, you got to go read to the children at the library.
Oh, trust me.
Yes.
Trust me. The
YSN will sponsor it. We'll make sure that you get taken care of.
Listen, the green eggs and ham in the Reverend Jackson's voice.
And we're done.
We're done. And do yourself a favor and you go to YouTube and YouTube Reverend Jesse Jackson.
You showed me when
SNL,
we were doing our storybook.
Green eggs and ham.
Why do you think
it is hilarious?
So Ron shows me this after we're doing our story time segment for about a month and a half, and he's like, "I'm going to do it like this," and I said, "Ron, you're not going to do it anymore. You are off the show." So that's why Ron Potesta never got to read a book on story time, because he was going to read it like Reverend Jackson.
Look, I could use my cartoon characters and whatever,
which Red Baker would love.
Oh, yeah.
Red Baker is your biggest fan when you use the cartoon.
Well,
voices.
I mean, we did, in one blowout game, started going Hanna-Barbera, Warner Brothers, and Foghorn Leghorn had a couple of pitches. Slider low for a ball.
The things that you will see and hear on YSN at Scene Park, you just never know. Ron Potesta is a cartoon. They come in and draw him every morning, and then he makes his way here to YSN headquarters.
Yeah, I pity anyone that has to draw me.
I say I pity.
I pity the person that has to draw me. Use all kind of paper, I say. Lordy. All right, so if the Indians are going to be in Cleveland, what does that mean for 4 high school teams? Dana and I talked a little bit about this. Southern, Girard, Brookfield, West Branch.
Got to change. I mean,
you would think that they would. Now there was a team on the outlier, and I will say that when they first went to the playoffs in 2000, Crestview had their fan base, very rabid fan base, went up to the suburbs.
God bless.
Went to the suburbs of Cleveland to take on, and I can't remember the name of the school. It was a private school. And it was half to 2/3 of the team were African Americans.
Right.
And here come the Crestview Rebel fans with Confederate flags.
Yep.
A ton of Confederate flags. Yep. And they're waving and flying the flag.
Now let's make sure that we say this is not. They're doing it because they're proud of their school. Their school
exactly.
Pride, it's not anything to do.
No, absolutely
with
not.
Racism or anything like that.
But as we have found out, and everyone should have known this by now, the Confederate flag is wrong on a million levels. The biggest of which is it is the flag of racism. It is the flag of slavery. It is the flag that represents the worst of the worst. And naturally,
it's not. I don't want to defend it, but I also don't want to sit there and be like it's the Nazi flag. It's not that. It's not that situation. They lost the war. It's basically a participation flag at this point of memories that a lot of people don't want to remember.
Well, I mean, they were traitors. They seceded from the Union and then wanted to take their beliefs and take over the Union, which didn't happen.
Second place,
whatever. But I mean, that flag should have been garbage at the end of the Civil War. But
Right.
unfortunately, it didn't, and it kept festering and festering. And I was telling you years ago, 11, 12 years ago, the last year that I was in West 10, we had a bus driver, Adolphe Bolton, called him B. Unbelievably great bus driver. Elderly black man. Back then, I think he was in his 70s, now well into his 80s, and still alive, lives in Memphis. Memphis born and bred. And we went to the outskirts of Jackson, Mississippi. Actually, it's Pearl, Mississippi, where the Mississippi Braves play. Now, in the state of Mississippi, and I'm glad that it's finally being taken care of, but back then in the state of Mississippi, the flag had a small box where the Confederate flag was there. And we had the conversation with the bus driver, and he and I were talking about the 60s. I was a kid. I was a child, 5 or 6 years old when the 60s ended. But I can remember some of the things that went on during the Johnson administration, bits and pieces. I mean, you don't remember too much when you're 4 or 5 years old. But I can remember the civil unrest in the South. I can remember the Vietnam War. I can remember bits and pieces of all that stuff. And here's a guy that was 30 years older than me that lived this nightmare.
Yeah.
If you're a black person living in the South, lived through this nightmare. And he said, and he pointed to the flag, and he said, I hate that flag with every fiber of my being. I hope in my lifetime I can see progress. Well, he's going to see progress because that flag is going to be gotten rid of pretty soon. So it just,
Is
we've
that official?
evolved. Yeah, it's
Okay.
Yeah, Mississippi has said
They're changing the flag?
We're changing the flag. It's evolved pretty quickly, but man, that's a lot of things are happening that some folks are looking around and saying, why are we? Well, it's.
But that's
it's part of
the problem. Part of the problem, Ron, and I'll say this with all due respect to people of my generation, is we haven't had to live through this.
No,
we learned everything we know about this either on Google or in history books.
Yeah,
that's it. You've lived it. You've had the opportunity. Like my generation and generations after me will have to clean up a mess to which they don't know the full story about.
Yeah.
It's all secondhand, third hand. That's the problem. That's the problem at hand right now, is because also the other situation is we believe everything that goes on social media, which is by itself is ridiculous.
Yeah,
You know,
of
there's
course.
no research because we don't have time to research. We just have time to put our stuff out there and say what I say is right and what you say that aren't my words is wrong. So and think about that for a second. What you say that aren't my words.
Yeah.
You can say the exact same thing in your words that I say, but they're not my words, so they're wrong. We don't know how to argue. We don't know how to debate.
No.
We don't know how to love somebody anymore without being able to disagree.
You're too busy doing this stuff.
That's it. And that's okay that you're busy doing that. Like my whole life and the organization depends on us doing that.
Of course.
But there's also an ability to see the other point of view, and that's what makes debate so great. That's what makes this country so great.
Sure.
Is we're allowed to disagree, shake hands, and walk away at the end of the day.
We haven't had that since Reagan was president.
For some reason, for some ungodly reason, we have figured out or have decided, rather, that we're going to have our steak and eat it too. And the other side, doesn't matter what they say, it's because they wear a blue shirt or a red shirt.
Yeah.
It's so wrong.
It's ridiculous.
Everything is so backwards right now that you just we're a sports network, and people are sitting there saying, "Well, if you don't say this and it's not politically, we're not going to say anything because it's not about sports."
Exactly.
The fact that the story that you just told has a sports connection to it. And
it's the only reason why I told the story.
And that's big, right?
Yeah.
That's big because there are so many people who rely on sports to learn how to argue, to learn how to have a conversation. I've said 1 million times in this, if I've said it once, I've said it 1 million times, that in this particular area, there's two common interests, the sports and the weather. Outside of that, you're on your own. And luckily for us, we're in the sports business. Luckily for us, we're partnered with Channel 21 WFMJ, who has Storm Tracker 21, and we're in the weather business because we do the first pitch forecast and things. The other stuff, the other 27 minutes that they have, we're not interested in because all we care about is sports and weather.
There you go.
So that's my 2 cents. So hopefully somebody takes something away from that. And the next time that we're arguing, like you and I argue all the time, but I know at the end of the day, we're friends.
Absolutely.
Whatever you say to me,
absolutely,
I can say, okay, I disagree with that, but I see your point.
Well, yeah.
You do the same.
Exactly.
People out there they're lost. They're just bonkers.
Yeah.
Like some of the people you see on Twitter and I see on Twitter, well, holy cow.
It's just compromising is now become a horrible word, which this is what our country was built on.
Absolutely.
I mean, good Lord.
It was born on belief, but it was also born on like this is wrong, and we're gonna like. It's just nuts right now, man. And the fact that everything offends somebody. No, I get some of it. I do.
Yeah.
But the fact that some of it is just absolutely ludicrous, like, oh, I don't like your colors being red and blue. Well, tough nuts. That's like you go make your own company.
That's our colors.
Yeah,
that's what we put in.
How can you back this country and say that you're representing? Like, I love this country. I love this country. I love the people that are in this country. The fact that there's people that don't know me and will sacrifice their life for me. That's what makes this country unbelievable.
Aces in my book.
Yeah. So like, have fun. If you're gonna go defend me and you're gonna defend my freedom, go get them. I'll back you with, I don't care if I need to fund you, like whatever you need, we got your back. As long as you're fighting for our freedoms and not for the other side.
There you go.
Thumbs up.
That's it.
You all right over there?
Yeah, I'm good.
Crying? I see you tearing up.
I got, yeah.
You got the Hartwig.
Yeah.
He left it to you. He bestowed it upon you.
But at least I'm not going to cough into
the mic.
We're not going to do that.
God, I love Anthony, but I feel so bad for him because he tries to control it, and you can hear it.
Oh, I know it's coming, so I flipped the.
You've learned it very quick.
I've learned to flip that.
I hope
down.
He's having a good time in Kansas City.
All I know is he's bringing back barbecue sauce.
All right, so quick rules at YSN, Bo. Your barbecue sauce has to stay out in the main corridor.
Hell no! Hell no!
We know the damage that you can do with barbecue sauce.
Oh no! Listen, this is no. My father is the grandmaster barbecue guy, and if I buy some ribs and I tell him, hey, have at it.
You're going to be sitting here eating wings or ribs or whatever, and Michael's going to be covered in Memphis barbecue or Kansas City barbecue. It's going to be ridiculous.
I'll have a bib on.
I've seen you at the press box.
Okay, you saw me slide a wing off of my fat hand and down my shirt. That doesn't happen very often.
It was like Hansel and Gretel. I could follow you wherever I wanted to by just walking on a trail of barbecue sauce and crumbs.
Normally, I'm a lot cleaner than that. You caught me on a horrible day. I mean, there was sauce everywhere. It was disgusting.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I actually wore a shirt that I shouldn't have worn.
Oh, you wore a white shirt, didn't you?
Yeah, I wore a white shirt and I had all kinds of crap all over it. I was just like, what the? At least I didn't wear my Dodgers jersey. That would have
been bad news.
Oh, I would have been pissed.
You would have been real mad.
Yeah, I would have been angry if that were the case. But no,
I got to bounce.
All right, bounce away. We'll.
Sorry, Ron.
That's all right. We'll take care of the rest of the show. All right, 330-886-0813. That is the number to call. Back in a bit. It is a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
Hey, my Ohio friends, it's Mike Ditka, and I know great talent and heart when I see it. I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are average real estate agents, then there are true champions. Kelly Warren is one of those champions, and you have her right there in your own backyard. Kelly outmarkets and outsells every agent in the Mahoning Valley. If Kelly can't sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, Kelly will buy it. Get your home sold. Call Kelly Warren today at 717-2689 or go online to kellysoda.com and start packing.
You can feel it. Baird Brothers' traditional craftsmanship. You can see it. Baird Brothers' timeless style. And you can afford it. And find everything at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is real hardwood, yet beautifully affordable. Floors, moldings, interior doors, bar rails, and stair parts. All within your means and without a care. Start at BairdBrothers.com. You have made it. Your home.
Teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you. Coming up on Wednesday, we will hopefully get some hockey talk with the our hockey guru, Tom Callahan. We're hoping to get in touch with him on Wednesday. We'll also try to get some local talk in here as well. We'll have our B-League spotlight, and we'll have that at 12:15 as we always do. We'll have Brian Tolnar from Mill Creek as we will talk about the tournament that was won by Bryson DeChambeau over the weekend in Detroit, as DeChambeau shot 23 under par, winning the Rocket Mortgage Classic. And we will preview the upcoming week on the PGA Tour, and we'll have some fun along with Brian's tip for the week. We'll have that as well on Wednesday. And again, Anthony is out for the week. He is in Kansas City with family, and can't wait for him to come back next Monday, because I'm getting a couple of things of barbecue sauce. One normal mild barbecue sauce, and then the other one's going to be a little spicy. So looking forward to having some Kansas City barbecue sauce, because, as I said, Kansas City, Memphis, some of the areas that have the unbelievable barbecue sauce, that's liquid gold as far as I'm concerned. That's some good stuff. Although, there's a couple of places around here that put forth some good barbecue sauce. Charlie Staples is pretty good. That's pretty good, and a couple of other places in the area that have some pretty decent barbecue sauce. But again, speaking from someone who's lived south of the Mason-Dixon line and close enough to Memphis, where I was an hour away, and you can go into Memphis and do some different things. Oh God, Memphis barbecue. Oof, man, is that good. Good stuff. All right, 330-886-0813. That is the number to call. Do we have baseball? Do we have the 60-game season? Do we have the 60-game season and the postseason? I got to be honest, based on what we're seeing, based on the amount of players that are starting to determine that the risk is not worth the reward, I'm not so sure that we are going to have a full 60-game season. I'm not so sure that that we're going to sit back and have the entire season. And Tom Callahan, our hockey guru, tweeting out, look, we're going to continue to have more positive tests. How resigned are you? How many cases is too many? I'm not willing to trade player, coach, and staff safety for anything. These are people, not commodities. The NHL saying the 35 total players tested positive for COVID-19. 23 of the 35 players who have reported to the team facilities for Phase 2 activities, and 12 additional players outside of the Phase 2 protocol. I have my doubts as to whether we are going to be able to get through the rest of the NHL season or the NBA or Major League Baseball, let alone can we get to and get through the National Football League season. I'll be very curious to see what happens, as I just, frankly, I have no idea. And Dana Balish brought this up, and I agree with him. Within the state of Ohio, by the rules, you're not allowed to play touch football, let alone tackle football. And I don't know how fast we're going to be able to do this, being that we're 7 weeks away, 7 weeks from this coming Thursday, 7 weeks away from the start of the high school football season. I'm not 100% sure that we can clean all of this up within 7 weeks, considering the fact that Ohio is now on the rise from COVID cases. I don't know how this is going to play out. And one of the things that we've learned, thanks to Dana Balish, Governor DeWine, and I think for the most part, Governor DeWine has done a pretty solid job. But here's where I'm going to have a serious problem if this is true, and from what we're told, this is pretty accurate, that the OHSAA doesn't have a seat at the table to determine what can go and what can't go in terms of what can be done and what can't be done. I find it odd and disturbing that the Ohio High School Athletic Association, the governing body of high school sports in the state of Ohio, whether you agree with the OHSAA or whether you think the OHSAA is a money-making machine, which is not very good with it, it doesn't matter what people think of the OHSAA. At the end of the day, the OHSAA is the mouthpiece and the source for high school sports in the state of Ohio, much like the TSSAA is in Tennessee. I find it odd and disturbing that the OHSAA does not have a seat at the table where Governor DeWine is making the decisions, both academically and athletically, in our schools. I find it really troubling that they don't even have the OHSAA at this table to offer some perspective. I really have a problem with this. This is one of those situations where, and again, I think that by and large, I think that Governor DeWine has done a pretty decent job. Unfortunately, I think this is where he is screwing up big time by not having the OHSAA or a representative of the Ohio High School Athletic Association having a seat at the table. I think this is a big disservice if, in fact, this is correct. And Dana Balish, when we had him on at 1 o'clock, he said, look, according to my source down in Columbus, these two entities haven't spoken in a couple of weeks, and there's no seat at the table. Maybe we get Tim Street on, friend of the show, and he's the mouthpiece for the OHSAA. I got to verify this, because this is disturbing, to say the least, if that is the case. And again, we're 7 weeks. This Thursday will be the 7-week mark of high school football. We're 7 weeks and, 3 days away? That's 52 days away from high school football. And we don't have a damn clue whether we're going to have high school football. Scary. Very scary. And then you go into the state of Michigan, as the governor has said, hey, I think that football should be played in the spring of 2021. The Ivy League, which started all of this, they were the forerunner when college basketball was hemming and hawing about whether they should cancel the rest of the season. The Ivy League was the first conference to sit back and say, hey, guys, we're out. We're canceling the rest of our basketball season. We're canceling the tournament. We're out. And that's where the dominoes started to fall. The Ivy League is expected to announce either today or tomorrow that they're going to move all their fall sports to the spring of 2021. And I just wonder, is this going to be yet another example of the Ivy League being the forerunner of college football? Are we going to see college football and the fall sports go into the spring of 2021? Let's be honest here for a second. Football is the moneymaker. It's the straw that stirs the financial drink in college athletics. Hell, it's the straw that stirs the drink in the high school athletics in the state of Ohio. Football is king. In the state of Ohio and across the country, football is king. Pains me to say that because I'm a baseball guy, but it's true. Football is king. And if you're not able to play football, but you want that revenue, you got to have that revenue. And in the state of Ohio, the OHSAA is SOL if they don't have football. That revenue that's a lifeline to the OHSAA because of the missed opportunities to do the baseball tournaments, the softball tournaments, the track and field tournaments. The spring sports were all canceled. All that money that was left on the table. OHSAA is in pretty bad financial shape. Well, the last time we had Tim Street on, he admitted to it. OHSAA is in really bad shape financially. They need to have a solid football season and the playoffs in order to have the money. If you know without a shadow of a doubt that things are not going to be getting any better anytime soon, and you have to have this money, you have to rely on the revenue that's going to be generated for the postseason. If that's the case, you'll see football in the spring of 2021. If that is the case. I know these guys are going to want to have part of a season. And for the OHSAA, look, I mean, you got to have the money. The postseason money, it's important for us. Look, if you have a 7-game season, a 5-game season, as long as you have the postseason and you have the money, the OHSAA can be taken care of, whatever. I'm just wondering. I'm wondering if the Ivy League isn't the forerunner, once again, into an idea where perhaps, and we heard about this somewhat a couple of months ago, a month and a half ago, where the idea was floated out to have the fall sports move to spring of 2021 in the state of Ohio. To this point, the OHSAA is not interested in doing that, but I got to believe that if this rate of COVID-19 and the rise of COVID-19 in the state of Ohio, if it continues to climb, knowing that the OHSAA desperately needs the revenue for the postseason, from the postseason, I should say, it wouldn't surprise me if they have a change of heart. Now, if that were the case, you'd be killing a lot of sports in the springtime. I got to be honest. You would be killing a lot of sports in the springtime. As much as I love high school baseball in this area, and again, I've said this for the last 7 years, I think that our baseball statewide is better than our football. We have more representation in Columbus, Akron, wherever the state tournaments are held. Year in, year out, there's more representation in the state semifinals and the state finals in baseball than there is in football. But if you have football played in the springtime, you've basically killed baseball. I got to be honest with you. You've killed baseball. You have multi-sport athletes, but push comes to shove, football's still king. And push comes to shove, going to be some more people that are going to want to play football than play baseball. I just hope that you don't have that scenario. If you move the fall sports to the spring of 2021, you've essentially for the year put a death knell on baseball. You simply have. And you've also weakened the product of football. Because there will be some players. There will be some players, the more elite players in baseball, that will undoubtedly play baseball. I would be willing to bet that the future Ohio State Buckeye, Jake Gehrig, if this were to come to pass, and Jake's about to be a senior at South Range, and he's committed to Ohio State University. If this were to come to pass where, let's say that the OHSAA determines COVID's not going away anytime soon, matter of fact, cases are on the rise in the state of Ohio, we need the revenue in football, so we're going to move the fall sports to the spring of 2021. I would pretty much be willing to bet that Jake would play baseball and not football. Push comes to shove, he's going to baseball. He's going to Ohio State to play baseball. Push comes to shove, he'd probably play baseball over football. Pretty good football player, too. I don't know how many of those players would do that, but you would certainly weaken both sports. Unless you were to put baseball and the spring sports to the fall. Let's make a case out of this. Let's think about this for a second. Look, I've gone to Scene Park a number of times this year, whether I'm broadcasting games on Tuesdays and Thursdays from Field 1. Game 1 starts at 6, Game 2 at 8:30. YSNlive.com if you want to tune in. By and large, other than the time limit, by and large, it's been a relatively cool season. Really haven't had much problems, knock on wood. Haven't had much problems. We haven't had an outbreak. Again, knock on wood. The baseball has been, it's been all right. Been okay. Games have pretty much gone, if you have the 2-hour time limit or the 2-hour 15-minute time limit and you got a tie ball game, that's at least you played. It's not perfect, but we really haven't had that many problems. Now, again, baseball is a game in which you're pretty much spaced out. The only time you're not spaced out is if a player is leading off at first base and he's held by the first baseman, and obviously the hitter and the catcher are very close quarters, and the home plate umpire. Now, this year, the umpires have been given the choice to either call the balls and strikes from behind the dish, or you can call it from behind the pitcher's mound. I've been calling it from behind the pitcher's mound. Again, I have a living situation where I'm with my elderly parents, and I will not take that risk. Just won't. Because there wouldn't be enough therapy in the world if I brought home COVID and one of my parents got it. Just wouldn't be enough therapy in the world. I don't even want to think about it. So it's just my prerogative. I'm not going to call balls and strikes from behind the plate. But by and large, this year we haven't had a lot of problems. Knock on wood, everything has been going well health-wise. So let's say that they decide, they being the OHSAA, decide, okay, the cases are up and we need the revenue for football, so let's just move the sport to the springtime. And all the spring sports will move to the fall. Under the circumstances, I don't think it would be that big of a decision. Baseball-wise, all right, these kids didn't play in the springtime, and they've been playing in the summertime. All right, if you start the season in August, you close out the season in October. You can play soccer in the fall. You can do track and field in the fall. You can do cross country in the fall if you want to do that. And just have football in the spring and volleyball in the spring. Track and field, cross country, golf, baseball, softball, and move it to the fall. Okay. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. But if you're going to sit back and say, well, what about the whole idea of these guys have been playing baseball? Well, they didn't play baseball in the spring. And they've only been playing baseball since, June? All right, June, July, August, September, October, 5 months. Not even 5 months, because the state championships, if you're blessed to be that far, would probably be in mid-October. It's not the worst idea. I mean, if you really want to gamble on the fact that all of this is going to go away by the spring, and you put your marquee sport in an area where there's a possibility that you don't have nearly as much of a problem as you do now, okay. And like I said, it's not like you're destroying the health of the baseball players. They've only been playing baseball since June. You're not going to destroy anybody. I don't think the OHSAA would do this, but again, considering the fact the Ivy League, and again, college and high school, it's a little bit of a difference, but the Ivy League's already is expected at some point today or tomorrow to move all of their fall sports to the spring of 2021. State of Michigan, their governor, whether you like her or not, Governor Gretchen has said, I'd kind of like to see football in the spring. The former state that I lived in, Tennessee, the TSSAA, they've already announced we're going to be delaying our high school football. No way we're going to be starting on time. We're going to be delaying high school football, and we'll just go from there. They're going to have a season. It's just they're going to be delayed. And I'm sure there's going to be some other states that are going to find out that 7 weeks from Thursday, we're opening up the season. Pretty good chance that we're not going to be able to do that. And let's see what we can do here. It wouldn't be the worst idea in the world if they flip-flopped. They being the OHSAA flip-flopped I don't think it's going to happen. Matter of fact, the chances of that happening are slim and none, and Slim's walking out the door. I just don't think it's going to happen. But it would make sense, and it wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. It would had we had track and field and softball and baseball and the spring sports earlier this year. Oh, it would have been a terrible idea. Because now you're telling the kids, well, you started playing softball, baseball in late February, early March, and we're going to continue to have you play until October. No. That's not going to happen. You can't do that. But because we didn't see any baseball played or softball or track and field ran at all this year, it's not the worst idea in the world. Again, I don't think it's going to happen, but it's not the worst idea in the world. Look, at the end of the day, money is going to be the determining factor of what happens here. I mean, I hate to say this, but the OHSAA is a business, kids. And I think people should know this by now. It's a business. Yeah, they're in the field to make money, but to also be the beacon of light to high school athletics in the state of Ohio. And if there's a chance that COVID-19 cases are going to continue to rise, and I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I mean, we'll see. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we have a sharp decline in COVID-19 cases. If that's the case, then we're back to doing what we're doing. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But I think it's interesting that the Ivy League has thrown out the idea of moving all the fall sports to the spring of 2021. I think it's an interesting idea. And if you're in college, what do you do? Do you move your spring sports to the fall? I can't imagine that Youngstown State would be playing their baseball in August or September. I don't think that's going to happen. They have fall ball practice. And when the freshman class comes in and you have the entire baseball team ready to go, then who knows? I don't see how you're going to change the spring sports. I mean, if you put football into the spring, oh man, you've taken the spotlight away from your baseball program. Again, I go back to what I was saying. Football's king. I hate to say that, but it's true. All I know is I am super excited and knock on wood, hope and pray to the sports gods, small g, that we're going to have sports on the collegiate level in Youngstown State. Because I think, just my personal opinion, I think we're in for one heck of a good run on the, quote, major sports. Look, the track and field program, the cross-country program, everyone knows that the Penguins are an unbelievable track and cross-country program. The women's bowling team is impeccable. But I'm looking forward to seeing what the football team does. Hopefully we get an opportunity to see this. I think that Coach Phillips has a lot of talent. That cupboard was not bare when Bo Pelini left for Baton Rouge, Louisiana to be the LSU's defensive coordinator. That cupboard is not bare. And then you go to the men's and women's basketball teams. Again, knock on wood, I'm going to tell you right now, if we have basketball, I think we're going to have all kinds of fun at Beagley this winter. With John Barnes coaching the women's team and Jared Calhoun coaching the men's team, I think both teams are going to be a lot of fun to watch. And it's been quite a while since both teams have been good, really good at the same time. And again, the YSU softball program, the YSU baseball program. I think both programs have a golden opportunity to be solid. Again, knock on wood that we get an opportunity to see college sports coming out of YSU, because honestly, oh man, I am really looking forward to a fantastic year of college athletics at Youngstown State. I just am. All right, we're going to take a final timeout. Be back to wrap this bad boy up. It's a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
Hey, my Ohio friends, it's Mike Ditka, and I know great talent and heart when I see it. I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are average real estate agents, then there are true champions. Kelly Warren is one of those champions, and you have her right there in your own backyard. Kelly outmarkets and outsells every agent in the Mahoning Valley. If Kelly can't sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, Kelly will buy it. Get your home sold. Call Kelly Warren today at 717-2689 or go online to kellysoda.com and start packing.
You can feel it. Baird Brothers' traditional craftsmanship. You can see it. Baird Brothers' timeless style. And you can afford it. And find everything at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is real hardwood, yet beautifully affordable. Floors, moldings, interior doors, bar rails, and stair parts. All within your means and without a care. Start at BairdBrothers.com. You have made it. Your home.
Teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams. 21
Good evening,
News.
and thank you for joining us.
Let's get right to our top
More
story
experienced
tonight.
reporters
A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown.
telling more local stories
We'll look at
Baby
efforts
boy
to
is
curb
recovering from a broken.
around our
Good
valley.
Community in Niles,
We are
one
here in
Central Valley
Youngstown, right
business.
Because you expect
It's important for everyone. No place like home.
more local news.
Then Mercer County
Before
Court.
they become life-threatening.
21 News is our Valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in the Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms. It just tastes better.
Getting set to close up shop on this Monday edition of Running Point. Again, the music world losing an icon with the passing of Charlie Daniels today. Charlie Daniels, the song that pretty much made him famous, The Devil Went Down to Georgia in the 1970s. I really liked his song Uneasy Rider. You may want to YouTube it. It's a pretty funny song. But Charlie Daniels passing away today at the age of 83. Some late news coming out of the World Wrestling Entertainment. WWE was supposed to have their mega pay-per-view SummerSlam in Boston. They have bailed out of Boston. This year's pay-per-view is going to go to the Performance Center in Orlando. Again, we haven't seen a live WWE show in a long, long time, as the WWE is moving the SummerSlam, I should say, to Orlando. So they're not going to be in Boston. They're going to be in Orlando. So that's late news coming out of World Wrestling Entertainment. That'll do it for the show. Many, many thanks to our guest, Munch Bishop, joining us at 12:15. Dana Ballas checking in at 1 o'clock. We will have lots of guests on Wednesday, and we'll continue to talk some local and regional and sometimes some national sports. That's all coming up on Wednesday. Have a great rest of the day. We'll talk on Wednesday. It's Running Point on